really well in it. And hey, you got the narrative right behind him as well with, $75,000. He's not the richest driver in the world. He's probably pretty motivated.
Is that a lot for like a NASCAR driver? Like, I don't know what they get paid, so I have no idea. Is that a lot?
Yeah, it is. These guys don't make a lot of money anymore.
Okay. Neither do any of us. All right, let's talk about a bet here to win this race. Like I mentioned, Hamlin and Larson are the top two favorites here. Then a fairly wide gap after that. Byron's at 8-1, Reddick's 850. Who do you like to win this one here?
Yeah, you can go down to a Byron or even a possibly Blaney. But again, I'm going to roll with the storyline that we all want to see, and that's Kyle Larson performing the feat of 1,100 miles. And again, statistically, he's been one of the best. You go back to 2021. I know this is not necessarily a DFS take, but he scored 158 fantasy points, which means he pretty much controlled the entire race of the Coca-Cola 600 in 2021. He's been great this season. He's probably going to be a little bit worn out, but it's really nothing for the guy. He races 5 to 6 days a week. He's on dirt tracks. He's at IndyCar. It's been a crazy month. And how about he closes it out with this historic win?
I'm going to spring this on you here real quick here. Is there anybody you like for like a top 5 bet here as well? Because obviously the odds are a lot shorter, but is there anybody that's kind of caught your eye, maybe bring some value here? Or is it just kind of, the field is almost set as it is?
Yeah, I mean, don't rule out that Stenhouse pick. As I mentioned before, we're going to get plenty of cautions. And that means you're going to reset the field often and have all these restarts. So he may not have the best car, but if he restarts on the third row with 3 laps left, he's definitely capable of sneaking away at the top 5. And really, anybody on the board can do that with the volatility of this race.
All right, let's step over to F1 here, and where we got the race over at Monaco. What do we need to know about this track here? I believe the practice runs were this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Those already took place.
Yeah, they had their third practice, and then they'll qualify later this afternoon, which is a big deal because qualifying pretty much sets up the race. This racetrack shouldn't exist. It would never be approved today. A, because it's dangerous. B, because it just doesn't provide very good racing. There won't be any passing. So the driver that wins the pole wins the race. But it's a spectacle. It's a special event. The richest people on planet Earth will be there watching on their yachts. It may not be the greatest race ever. So, 9 a.m. tomorrow or Sunday morning, pop open a mimosa and just enjoy the pageant.
Yeah, I was going to have you elaborate on that a little bit. This is a track that has been highly criticized for the past few years, yes?
Yeah, the drivers don't like it. The fans don't necessarily appreciate the racing, but it's Memorial Day weekend. It's a special racing holiday. And like I said, if the richest people on planet Earth put it on their calendar, this thing isn't going away anytime soon.
Well, just like it looks like the Vegas thing's not going away either. And that was just a massive headache for everybody when F1 came around. And those are expensive people because the Wynn was sold out. And if you got money, you're staying at the Wynn, baby. Let's talk about the winner for this one here. So Verstappen's actually plus money for this one. He's plus 225. It's Charles Leclerc who is the odds-on winner for this one at minus 140. Which direction are you going for the winner of this one here?
Again, it's going to come down to whoever wins qualifying. So if you want to put in the bet before qualifying, then you're going to get your better odds because those are going to shift once that comes through. I think Verstappen is definitely the safe pick. He's won 9 poles in a row, which is a record. So I imagine he's going to win another, then thus win the race. But if you want to go with the heart, then Charles Leclerc from Monaco, hometown Monte Carlo guy. Everybody's been rooting for him to get this win. Has never been able to accomplish it. So if you want to go with passion and excitement and you've had too many mimosas or whatever you like to drink at 9 a.m. in America, then Leclerc is going to be that option.
Is there really any value in taking anybody else here? Or is it really just down to these two?
Yeah, I mean, you could put the McLarens in, but McLaren's had most of its speed on pace, not necessarily on qualifying. And again, it's all about qualifying. So although McLaren and Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are running really well, it's just not a pace race.
And before I ask you the next question, what would you watch this race on? Like a super yacht? Where are you going to watch this race?
I think I would be in one of the Monte Carlo casinos, probably.
Okay, fair enough. I just want to get your thoughts too, if you have any here on any of the other upcoming bets here. Obviously, Indy 500 is going to be coming up here. Any early thoughts on that at all?
Yeah, Indy 500. Again, we're rooting for the double with Kyle Larson. We want to see him win both of these races. I mean, If he wins one, that's great. But if he wins two, it'll be one of the greatest racing achievements of all time. Just running the 1,100 miles is quite an accomplishment. And what he's already done is pretty amazing. But he's got a chance. Qualified fifth. He's got the car. He's got the talent. He's definitely has an opportunity. The safer bet's going to be Joseph Newgarden, who's the best IndyCar oval driver. If you want to take a little bit of a longer shot guy, Takuma Sato at plus 3,000. This is the only race he runs, but he has won this thing 2 years, or he's won this twice before. So he likes Indy 500. There's your long shot bet.
All right, and then we'll end it off with here. Obviously, the NASCAR Cup Series, you can take the winner of that one there. Larson is the overall favorite of plus 380. Have you looked at this at all, or you have any opinions on this one?
Yeah, you could go with Larson. Hamlin's probably the safer bet, considering he's not running 1,100 miles on Sunday,
plus
and has statistically been a little better.
All right, Pierce, and then, hey, Double or Nothing's tomorrow. Are you excited for Double or Nothing, AEW?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can get a backstage fight there as well.
Absolutely. All right, well, this is going to conclude the first hour of the Sweat here. Pierce Dietrich, thanks for coming on. We're going to bring Nick Fryer on board next. We're going to talk some Major League Baseball. We'll be right back.
Stirring fiber, exercising, frequent trips to the store for more laxatives and fiber. Sounds like your constipation with belly pain is a lot to manage. But if your symptoms that keep coming back are signs of irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C, ask your doctor how Linzess can help you get ahead of it. Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LANZESS.
If you didn't catch Follow the Money, here's what you missed.
I got the Mavs at 32-1 to win the title in early April. That's when you talked me into. I grabbed them. I didn't grab them.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council. Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here. And here is Western Reserve Radio, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. Lot to get to in the wonderful world of sports today. It is Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, we send our thoughts and prayers to all of our veterans out there that had lost their lives in battle keeping our country safe, and also we still say prayers for the existing living veterans out there that continue to protect our great country. Again, Memorial Day weekend, a special prayer to all veterans that served our country that have passed. It is a great holiday, and again, say a prayer for all veterans out there, and especially those that have passed. where are we going to start today? We've got the NBA playoffs. Last night, not a good night for the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've got Dave Clark.
Yep, I am here.
You're here, great, Dave. What is your impressions? Did you watch the Dallas Mavericks last night sink the Minnesota Timberwolves on the 3-pointer that Luca hit with 3 seconds left?
Yep.
Not a good day for Minnesota or maybe NBA fans, because looking at these 2 NBA playoffs right now, we've got Indiana, Boston. We'll get to that one, but that's 2-0 Boston, and unfortunately Dallas beat Minnesota last night, and that makes that series 2-0. We could be potentially looking at 2 sweeps in the conference finals in the NBA.
Yeah, when it comes to sweeps, I probably lean a little bit more towards the Boston. We just got to see how they play on the road, but I lean towards them a little bit more. Minnesota, both games they could have won and should have. The first game, they were up 10 with, I think it was 3 minutes and 35 seconds, something like that left in the game. And then they just crazy turnovers, doing things that they shouldn't actually do, taking the ball out one time, let the 5 seconds go past, turning the ball over quickly in those last few minutes, changed that game, and Dallas was able to come back and win. And the same thing with they controlled the game pretty good in most parts, but towards the end, again, they faltered. All a sign of a young team, but sometimes some young teams fall apart, and then some are just real hungry. And I just feel that Minnesota has enough hunger in them to try to make this a series. I still think you can't get down 2-0 to Dallas and come back. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. But if it's anybody I'm going to give a chance, it's Minnesota. It's just something about Indiana. I don't think they're tough enough for us on the defensive end at times. And, when you can go through that, I actually, now I'm probably being biased, but I think a healthy New York Knicks team would have been a better, it had to be healthy now, completely healthy, to go against Boston, because they just had that mentality to come out and play that same type of game every day. Because that's really what they did all season long. They play those hard-fought, down-to-the-wire games, and that's what they play. And they were more used to that type of situation. They just ran out of gas and ran out of players. So Thibodeau, next year, get a bench. Get more of a bench and be ready. Because that's what you're going to have to use more. And sometimes he don't use his bench, so he needs to. But getting back to our playoffs, though, I just lean towards Boston on a sweep. But, with them, what we talked about, one of the things you was talking about, they love to fall in love with shooting threes. And Indiana at home, they may come make a run at home. It could, just because of Boston's play. Sometimes they just do that.
Yeah, I guess we have to remember a couple things. First, with Minnesota, the challenge will be they lost their first 2 games at home on the court, and I think they've obviously got a little bit of a steeper mountain to climb. They're a younger team, like you said. They're hungry. Their game. Is there a team? Could they fight back and win a series after losing their first 2 games at home? I believe they said there's only 6 teams in NBA history that ever did that. Can Minnesota be number 7? Denver almost pulled it off. They lost their first 2, but then they lost game 7 at home against Minnesota. That caught everybody by surprise.
Right.
Can Minnesota turn around and almost do what Denver almost did? Yeah. Maybe. It just seems to be Dallas is the team that is kind of like they don't get a lot of respect because people don't really believe they're as good as they are. And I keep thinking they're going to get beat. But like the Clippers I thought, if Kawhi Leonard played for the Clippers, I think they could have maybe beat Dallas, but it just didn't go. I mean, and then the Clippers were kind of never really in that series. I never thought for some reason, I didn't think the Clippers had a chance to even win that series against Dallas.
You didn't have to have Kawhi.
They got to have Kawhi.
Yeah.
And you just have to. And then you look, obviously, when you look at Dallas now with Minnesota, Minnesota's obviously, I think, I thought the better team. And they've outplayed Dallas in 2 games.
Yeah.
Kind of like what the Lakers did with Denver.
Yeah. Yep. Losing the vital parts of the game.
Right.
Signs of a young team, one part of it. You can't say that with the Lakers, but that's a sign of a team that's older that runs out of the gas sometime at the end. So it's just that, they got the opportunity, but they're going to have to play well, because to be that close. And then I looked at the stats of Cat and Ant-Man. They wasn't, outrageously scoring. They did other things. They rebound. They had assists. They played defense. But they wasn't scoring their 30 points or anything. It was 18, 19 points. Now, what would happen if they're playing that game and they're starting to score their 25 to 30 points a game? Will Dallas be able to handle that? But we'll see. Dallas, that's a different team, because I did see them before the All-Star break. And when they made those trades, which seemed like the insignificant trades,
right,
of P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, that team is completely different. It's complete with all of athletes all over. It's just they're just a completely different basketball team. They play different, more confidence in their front court to be all over the boards. It's a different basketball team.
Yeah, I think that's what caught me off. Like I said, I know you don't like to go back, but last year with Dallas was like, that's history. That doesn't count. They made the trades, as you said. It changed that team, the dynamic in that team. It just seems, and the Kyrie he seems to have elevated his play, and he's proved to everybody that when he is on the court, he's one of the best players out there. Clutch.
Oh, yeah.
Makes the plays. And then we compare him and Luca. Luca Doncic, to me, I watched him more. And the more I watch him, it's like he doesn't, granted he doesn't play much defense, but what he does offensively and how he sets up those other players with the way he passes and where they are on the court, like he knows where they are. Mm-hmm. And he and Kyrie just seem to be on the same wavelength together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will give him some credit. He's known not to play defense, but as of late, I think he's bought in to playing defense at times. You will see him playing defense a lot better than he ever did. And I think with those new guys that came and seeing their effort of getting, with the switches and everything like that, his negligence of playing defense showed up. He would show up even more. So I think he started to put a little bit more effort into playing defense. And that's what I see on the court with him sometimes. I used to see him just almost like open the floodgates, just come on pass, but you don't see that now.
No, he's obviously, like I said, you're right. He's kind of made whatever adjustments again.
Yep. Other players can make you do that too, though, because it will. If you stand out like a sore thumb, and then you're supposed to be the face of the franchise, and you're not getting to where you need to get to, the promised land or a chance at it, then everything's looking at you. So, he had to start playing. The same thing with Kyrie. Kyrie could play defense, and I never knew he could play that well. Even though I did see it at times when he was at Cleveland and they beat Golden State, he did show some. He gave Curry some problems at times of his quickness of being on him. So I knew it's in him. He just didn't do it on a consistent basis. Neither one of them, but they sure are doing it now.
And this goes to show one thing, and I know maybe people don't want to hear this but I think it's kind of a reality, is the playoffs start, and playoff basketball is almost to the point where it's almost 180 degrees different than regular season. And I mean, you see it in the defense, you see it in the intensity, the way they play. Watching the game last night, Minnesota was up real big in the first half. It almost looked like they were going to put the game away. But then Dallas, you could see them coming back and just, especially in the second half, working down that deficit with Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then you knew in the fourth quarter, because Dallas has done that a lot in the playoffs, where you think, well, they're probably, not going to win the game because they're getting beat, like with Oklahoma City being the number one seed. But Dallas, just like I said, that might have been the veterans of Dallas just kind of taking the younger kids to task, sort of, to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they did the same thing with Oklahoma City. And I kind of feel that they're going to do the same thing with Minnesota, where I think they're ultimately, they're going to win the series. Now, I think Minnesota will get a game. And can they get back in the series? That's going to be the question. They play Sunday night. Is I think the next time they play Sunday night, 8:00 TNT, and we got to get to TNT because it looks like, and we'll get to that with the basketball contract, that it looks like speculation is TNT won't have the NBA next year.
Or is it the following year?
Or I'm sorry, you're right. The following year, they'll have another year with it, and then they get rid of it.
Right.
And the TNT's looking more to go to college football. And go that direction. We'll come back to that. We'll get to that a little bit later. But getting that, and we're just getting with Dallas, I like to see. I love watching basketball, especially this time of year. At this point, I don't have a dog in the fight. Obviously, we're both Knicks fans. And I agree with you. Had the Knicks been totally healthy across the board, I think they would have given Boston a better series. Getting to that Boston series, I think, and I hate to say one game can make a series, but that game that Indiana lost, game one, I think they had Boston on the ropes. They should have beat Boston. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, they can't get the ball inbound. Halliburton doesn't know what to do with the ball. He dribbles pretty much out of bounds. And all of a sudden, there's turnover after turnover. And here they give Boston the game on the platter.
Yep.
Lost an OT. But that was clearly the game Indiana, I thought, was going to steal. It should have won. They kind of outplayed Boston.
Yep,
but
they
you're
should
right.
have won that. And that's what I wanted to see, their reaction, Pat. I said, let's see how they react to that next game. Early on, very competitive. But then soon as Boston got maybe an 8 to 10 point lead, they basically kept it at that distance. A couple times they tried to come, but they kept it at that double-digit distance the rest of the way. And I just don't know if Indiana, we'll see though. Sometimes you get home and it changed a lot of things, but we'll see.
Well, one drawback is with Indiana now, I guess Halliburton has got a hamstring issue. So question's going to be, can he, play with that? How bad is it? That could obviously impact Indiana, because watching him against the Knicks, obviously he gets hot.
Mm-hmm.
He can make a difference in a game. He can make 3 after 3 after 3 like he did against the Knicks. And I know we talking Game 7 with the Knicks. The Knicks, I was almost happy. I shouldn't say happy, but they were not going to beat Boston especially with Brunson being with a broken hand. They were not going to beat Boston,
right?
And they with the other injuries that were gnawing at, Hart was hurt, playing hurt. You could just basically see that had they stayed healthy, maybe if Thibodeau played the bench a little bit more and saved minutes on their bodies.
Yep. I really thought
maybe it could have been. They should have beat. I thought they could have beat, or they should have beat Indiana. in the 7-game series had not been for injuries.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I know that's his style. A lot of players they like Tibbs, but then some of his methods they don't like playing guys so many minutes, and it gives the impression that I don't trust the other guys with. When you get guys like Ellis Burks get in the game and it look like he's been playing all season long, it already shows that this guy is a true professional. Get him in the game. I've seen him everywhere else he's been. He's always been not a guy that's on the bench. He's always been a part of a team that they put him in crucial minutes because it seems like it doesn't even faze him.
Right.
So why wouldn't you have a guy like that out on the court, expel these other guys? I don't get it. That's the thing. And we've seen player after player breaking down. And that's because so many minutes, they play hard. That's just the way.
Yeah.
That's the New York Knicks livelihood is to play just like it is. Hard-nosed basketball. It's always been like that. I think it might have been soft somewhere in there. I just don't remember when somewhere. But if we go all the way back, they have always been that hard-nosed type team. But he definitely has to have confidence in at least 2 to 3 guys off that bench and spell some of these guys. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a different New York Knicks team anyway next year. Randall may be back, but something tells me he may get traded. And no telling who they might bring in.
There's a lot of when you look at the team, obviously Hartenstein's a free agent, and so I don't know if they can re-sign him. He'll obviously get a contract somewhere. He obviously played well with the Knicks, so then can the Knicks re-sign him? Yeah, I believe that the way Randall, to my knowledge, is next year is the last year of his contract.
Yeah, I think so.
It's an expire. So he has 1 year. How does this contract work? I believe Randall has, I believe the way the contract work, he has a next year, and then he can opt out. I'm going to look it up because I want to make sure I got it. Yeah, Randall's contract is it's next year. He makes $30 million. That's guaranteed. That's it. The following year, 25-26. And I just heard they're going to re-sign Jalen Brunson to an extension. But his contract is similar in Jalen Brunson is in 2025, 2026. They have an opt out.
Mm-hmm.
Randall has $32 million. He can opt out and be a free agent.
Okay.
Brunson's the same way. He's $24 million, 9. He can opt out, be a free agent. We know that's not going to happen. They're going to sign him.
Yeah.
I believe that I thought I heard that already they're working on an extension for Jalen Brunson. Okay. Going back to what you just said, down to with Randall technically having an expiring contract after the year is up, do they trade him?
That's the thing.
And that's going to be the $100 million question. The other, we're talking about, what's his name? OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
Well, he actually has an opt-in contract for $19 million this year coming up. So he technically could be a free agent. Yeah. He can opt out and he's a free agent.
Right.
So they have to decide, do they want to sign him? Now, Mitchell Robinson's contract is good for 2 more years, so he's pretty much there. Josh Hart is there for pretty much for 3 years. And Dante DiVincenzo is going to be there 3 more years. So that's almost like the core. Alex Burke is a free agent. Hartenstein is a free agent.
Yeah, I think
their contracts have expired.
Yeah, I think Hartenstein. I think they will resign him. Hopefully, they will Burks too. I'm thinking Robinson, but it's got to be Robinson, some draft picks, and probably somebody else. Even if it's Randall, in a trade for someone.
Yeah.
Where those contracts can match up. And it'll be, and if it is, it's going to be somebody big time that they get too.
A lot of talk. There's rumors are they're interested in Durant.
Yep,
they want Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm.
Booker, the younger version, obviously Durant. Now, Phoenix has come out and said they're not going to break up those three players.
Yeah.
They're going to roll with the three core players. And I think it's Budenholzer's now the new Phoenix coach, correct?
Yeah, I think he did sign 5 years.
Budenholzer is the coach. He can't wait to coach them. He says that he's excited about coaching this team and the three players, and they have to work on evidently the bench, Phoenix. But so for Knick fans thinking that either Durant or Booker are coming, at least Phoenix is saying they're not available, we're going to roll next year with them.
Mm-hmm.
So then the Knicks have to look elsewhere and see where there'd be an advantage of going. What's his name? The center for Minnesota. Is it Towns?
Yeah.
I believe that name's come up.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure whether or not they can work out a trade for him.
Because see, if he came, actually him being a center, but they being able to play forward too, he could. They would have Hartenstein, so they might want to start Towns at center. He could either way. But if they had a ample third center, they could really come in. I would start Hartenstein in Towns, but we'd have to see because he's a pretty good defense. Some of those calls that Towns was getting in the Denver series against Jokic was absolutely. It almost made me laugh when you think about not even basketball way back in the 70s or 80s. I'm talking about just you didn't even have to go back that far. I mean, you was laying a finger on him, and that whistle was going off. The one time he missed him, he still got a foul. That's it. They have to stop that. But it's with a lot of the star players, it's always been like that. But when you just see those type, it's funny.
Well, yeah, I mean one thing I'll give the referees credit for to a point is they, at least in these playoffs, my impression is they're letting these guys play
a lot more,
and they're letting a lot of physical stuff go. And I would rather have that. But you're right. As I wish they kind of even to scale a little bit.
Yeah, just on some of those ticky-tack calls. But But as far as where they've been letting them play, that's the way I like to see it. And if the season was about 25 games shorter, or 60 games or 55 games a year, and they played at that type of intensity, you'll watch the entire NBA season because it's a different season. As soon as the play-in game comes, it seems like everything that's changed is a different switch. Guys playing so much differently. And sometimes if it's down the stretch to get into the play-in game, those particular teams playing very hard just to get a chance. So but that's how it is. You gotta wait the NBA season out. Same thing for Major League Baseball. You gotta wait it out because these early games, they're playing, but they're not playing at the top of the level that they can. Not all those players. You could tell it's a different intensity as soon as the playoff time comes.
Yeah. These guys. I see, and I don't know. Maybe it's because we're getting older, but I believe it seems more distinct now than it did previously between playoffs and regular season. I always knew playoffs were like a step above regular season. Historically, it's been, but there seems to be a bigger gap now between now and the regular season. The regular season, to me, they just kind of, you can see these guys just kind of going through the motions. They play with some, but boy, the playoffs now, It's just
good.
It's just whole different. And the referees even, I make probably an argument, the referees referee the playoff games totally different.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that you're getting older, because it's honest. I could think back to the games when the Jordan era, or even after it. If you watch a doubleheader game on Sunday,
right?
Those games were they were regular season games. They were intense. I would be right there watching them,
right?
Because they would be into it. Or even I go way back when they used to use tape delay. 11:30 at night, Laker game coming on. It'd be an intense regular season game. That's just how they played back then. They didn't. I just believe it was the mentality of the player. Okay, today's player, not all, but most, they all congregate together. They fraternize together. Back then, you were the enemy all year.
There's our music, Dave Clark. Great point. We'll come back. Second quarter, first quarter in the book, Western Reserve Radio. Lucia, Dave Clark. Back after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
This is Jerry Snodgrass, Executive Director of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One of my long-standing goals is to help people understand that high school sports are about so much more than wins and losses. The OHSAA promotes education-based athletics, where sports are an extension of the classroom. Our schools all want to win. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, it's all about sportsmanship, leadership, and making certain that academics are a priority. Thank you for your support of high school sports in Ohio.
Saturday morning sports page coming back at you. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. Second quarter of the Saturday morning sports page as we roll through this Saturday Memorial Day weekend. Again, prayers and thoughts to all veterans who served and lost their life, paid the ultimate price in war, protecting our great country, and also still a shout out to our existing veterans that also did serve. Dave Clark, getting into the looking at the NBA, at least landscape, looking at the playoffs, I think the game that cost Indiana was the first game that they lost. They should have won. Maybe they bet. Now, the only hope we have to make that could be a series is Indiana did prove against the Knicks. They were also down 0-2, lost the first two games in Madison Square and came back.
Right.
So we can only hope that maybe they can at least come back and make this a series against Boston. But it just seems to be if Halliburton's hamstring is a severe injury and he can't really play, that's really going to hurt Indiana. And it just seems to me Boston is getting all the breaks going their way. It's like karma. It's one of those years that a certain team, the playoffs, the matchups just go their way. They either get the injuries to the stars on the other side, and obviously they take advantage of it. And I have a feeling that Boston is probably going to be in the NBA Finals. Now, will it be Dallas and Minnesota? I guess here's a question to you. Which one of these playoff series do you think has a better chance of saying going 6 or 7 games? If you were, going to say, okay, now they're both down, there's 2-0 or 0-2, depending on what team. But which one of these playoffs would you think has the better shot of going to, say, a 6 or 7 game series?
Right now, I still, like I said, I lean towards the Minnesota series. Now, you did make me take pause when you think about Indiana, how they lost in New York, first 2, and then came home. Still I'm worried about Halliburton's hamstring. That's the hamstring. I believe it's the same hamstring that he's out for like a month and a half or so during the season. So I don't know if that's that same hamstring or not, but I lean towards the Minnesota series, even though the Achilles heel of the Boston Celtics is we love the 3-point line, and we're going to just shoot there, even though that's not a good shot at this time. They do that a lot, and they get into it, and teams come back ferociously back on them and get right in the game, and I don't think you want to do that in Indiana. That might cost you something. So, it almost makes me think that both games could go 6 games, but I definitely lean more towards Minnesota, but we will know in these next 2 days, because if those 2 teams, Indiana and Minnesota, lose, I don't think we have to worry about a 6 game for either one of them.
Yeah, and I think tonight, Boston taking on Indiana at Indiana. This is on ABC tonight at 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I think, now Halliburton is questionable with a sore hamstring for Game 3.
Yeah.
The question is, and you know this, being an athlete and playing at a high level, the hamstring can just be the nagging injury, and even if he can play, how effective will he be?
Yeah,
with a hamstring.
Yes, and the thing that's tough with a hamstring is running forward, taking off. You're okay unless it's a sudden impact that you're doing it. But if you're taking off, sprinting down the court, you can almost I don't know if I want to say comfort it as you run. You can, but it's that side to side, sudden stops, and you stop and go. That whoever's is the offensive player, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be trying to make him move all kind of laterally, back and forth, everything, because that's what caused a lot of issues with the hamstring. And how severe that hamstring is, I don't, they're not saying it. It said it, he has a sore hamstring. I'm sure he went straight to treatment after the last game and all of yesterday to try to get ready for the day. But that's the thing that you just don't know. I mean, look at Anunoby. When he tried to come back, he was out for 2-3 games.
Yeah, he was out. 3 games, right?
And he had all that treatment. And man, that guy looked like he looked weird running up and down the court, because you could see he couldn't even fully extend to run. So that's something we're going to watch with Halliburton, see how his movement is. Because Anunoby, I was shocked that he even played. And he came out and was playing pretty well, but you could tell that thing was not going to hold up that whole game.
Yeah, and that's the thing with, exactly. I mean, and I know that seemed to be aggravating him all year long. And then we've got Porzingis has not made appearance yet for Boston.
Was his a hamstring too, or knee?
It says he's got a right calf injury.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure what the difference.
Well, I tell you, when you get calf injuries and it's a long time, you always get concerned because it's so close to the Achilles.
Right.
Is there something going on there? And that's why I think sometimes they take a long time, because if it's any kind of stress towards that Achilles, they don't want to do anything too drastic too soon and cause them to actually tear it. So right now with a nice 2-0 lead, if they can get 3, that'll give him some more rest and maybe be ready for the finals. But I think they definitely going to need him for the finals.
Yeah, I think so. I think that Boston, I think you're right. I think they're going to need. Now, you're right. We saw, what was the year Durant played for Golden's? Was it? Yeah. Had the calf, and then he blew out his Achilles. He's trying to play through it.
Yeah, trying to play Toronto. He couldn't
That's
do
it.
Yeah.
19. I think it was 2000. I believe it was 2019. They played Toronto, and Toronto beat them. But Durant blew that Achilles out because he was trying to play through a calf injury.
Mm-hmm.
And he just did a number on that, and then that was pretty much where they ultimately lost the series because they lost Klay Thompson and Durant, I believe.
Yeah, yep,
and they just obviously were too depleted. That was when Kawhi was with Toronto and won the title with Toronto.
Right.
But that's where you get with calf injuries and how they can potentially be something obviously more severe as the torn Achilles, which is usually a year injury getting over. So yeah, they want to be obvious. And let's face it, Porzingis, good player, but he's always hurt. Right. I mean, I like his game. I think, it's good. He can shoot. He's a skilled player. But there are teams that gave up on him. The Knicks had him. They traded him. Dallas had him. They got rid of him. Washington had him. Great player, but he's just constantly hurt. Maybe a good player, not great. But again, so, yeah, but I agree with you. They will, if they get it, especially I have a feeling the way Dallas is playing, they're going to need him, maybe even Minnesota, they're going to need him to win. They're going to need him in the finals.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you would need him either way, and even Minnesota even more so.
Right.
Because they have a big front line. So, with Towns and Gobert there, and even when Nas Reed come in, that guy, long and lean, he could play.
Nas Reed, it's too bad he missed the 3-pointer.
Yeah, that was right there.
Shot. Yeah.
Halfway down.
Just missed it. Yeah. Yeah. Tough shot because I thought for a minute it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Like you said, it went down and then bounced out. And, that was the shot that would have won the game for them. Yeah. That's where that game was, last possession game. And he did get a pretty good look.
Oh, yeah.
At it for 3. And it was a shot he could have made. It wasn't like an outrageous 3. It was, and they were able to get the ball over to him, and he wasn't guarded, and he had a clear look.
Right.
It just kind of shot that just didn't go down. Just sliding over a little bit, since we're talking NBA, I did want to talk about the Cleveland Cavs firing Bickerstaff. JB Bickerstaff lost his job this past week. They fired him. They said that the word was they were looking to go in a different direction. And I thought when you looked at Cleveland, they played, I thought, had Donovan Mitchell been healthy, they could have given Boston, they could have taken it to 7 games.
Right.
I think they played very competitive, but they were without Donovan Mitchell. In the games they lost, he could have been a difference maker. They were that close a game.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they wanted Bickerstaff to do.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
And I hate that we're looking to go in a different direction, because what direction are you trying to go to when your direction so far with him has been upward?
Yes.
But then okay, you lose a series. Okay, so what they're telling me, just me trying to read between the lines, you weren't good enough to win that series. But are you looking at? Let's look at what's on the court. No Donovan Mitchell. No Allen for the longest. He's a major factor when you can lead the league. I think he was either top or right in there, block shots. His rebounding was crazy, and then he can score. It wasn't like he was a guy that's a tall guy out there. He was a guy that scored. I think he averaged around 14, 15 points a game. Now, you take all that out the lineup, and you're banged up, and your best player is out the game, and you playing against a team that's, yes, they didn't have Porzingis, but I mean, the talent that's out there doesn't even match up.
Right.
And you get rid of them? I mean, what are you? I just don't understand that. I want to see the direction they're going into now. Who is it going to be?
Well, this is what I don't understand. Last year, Cleveland goes 51-31, finished second in their division. They lose to the Knicks in the first round, 4-1 playoff. Okay, young team, first time they've been in the playoffs in a long, long time since LeBron was there. Okay, so you write it off as a team learning, young team. So this year, they go 48-34. Okay, we in the regular season, not bad, not a bad record. 4th seed. They beat Orlando. Orlando, a young team, but a very competitive team, and it was a tough series, which you knew it was going to be. And maybe there's Cleveland Cavs fans that think they should have beat Orlando in 5 games and it shouldn't have gone 7. I mean, you hear this; it's ludicrous.
Right.
Anyway, they get the job done. They beat Orlando. They go to the second round. You're playing the number 1 seed, the best team in the NBA record-wise. So you're playing them. You basically get a split in Boston. You play 2 games in Cleveland, good games, but you don't have Donovan Mitchell and Allen. So you're depleted there. You give them good competitive games. It's not like they blow you out and the team's not playing hard. They play hard. They lose a couple tough games. Okay. Again, so they lose game 5 again with no Donovan Mitchell. They won a playoff series. You got a young coach, I think one of the better coaches in the NBA. Not the greatest, but I'm saying he's a good coach, really solid coach.
Right.
His dad was Bickerstaff, Bernie Bickerstaff.
Mm-hmm.
So comes from a good family tree there of coaching, I think. So you're going in the right direction, I think. And now all of a sudden you're going, well, we're going to fire him. I'm thinking, did I miss a memo? What's going on here? What do you mean you're firing the coach?
Yep.
He improved in the playoffs. It's a young team. You didn't even have your full team. If you had your full team, I would make a little bit of an argument that they've been totally healthy. They could have beat Boston.
Well, a lot of the analysts said before that game, if it was a healthy Cleveland team, this was a dangerous team that could beat Boston.
Yes.
But they kept saying without Allen in the middle.
Right.
So they can use their normal rotation, and Donovan being nicked up is going to be tough. And
right.
They needed Garland to really be on. So, I mean, I don't know what they're looking at.
I don't understand.
They didn't look at the guys who was injured or whatever. So we'll see. It must be trying to make a big splash, try to get one of these new younger coaches. I don't know.
But here's the other thing I ask you. Okay, if Bickerstaff isn't the guy, what coach is going to come in and do any better with that team under those circumstances? I don't know who's out there.
Yeah, I don't.
That's the part I don't get.
I was shocked when I seen he got fired. When I seen it on this, the Bickerstaff fired. It came across the phone. I said, "What?" I don't know.
I just don't understand. I could see if the team was underperforming, if they weren't playing hard, there was some type of riff on the team. I saw none of that. I saw a team that played hard, the fans into it. I thought he was a good. I know there were some maybe rotation issues people bring up. You can bring that up with any coach.
Yeah.
The whole point of it is, I thought first of all, you've got one of the younger, brighter, smarter coaches in the game, doing a pretty good job with a young team. I just thought that you would want to roll that out next year, because you're going in the right direction. Maybe you make a trade. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell's going to stay. They talk about him being traded to the Knicks. There's all this discussion out there.
Right.
I don't know if the Knicks need him. They got Brunson. Who knows? But I don't understand how you get rid of Bickerstaff. I don't get it either. I saw it. I had heard there was some rumor during the season that if Bickerstaff didn't do something significantly in the playoffs, they were going to get rid of him, and I thought that's ludicrous.
Yeah, well, this is the thing that I've done heard, and I do agree with it. The owners are the big time owners, and they fire these coaches. And is it their decision, or is it they listen to the media and the fans? Just like when people say, just like us right here, we could be saying he has a problem with his rotation. That's our opinion.
Yeah.
We're not there 24/7 with these guys knowing what they're doing in practice, how things play out that way, and who plays well together. They know. They know those little intricate things that we don't know anything about. We're just looking at the player and how they play and why aren't they in at that time. They may not mesh with a certain unit. You never know. So the rotations could be differently in my eyes, but I'm not there at that operation all the time, so I don't know what's going on. And I really believe owners listen to that stuff and listen, and then, okay, we're getting rid of them. Because some things don't make any sense when they fire coaches. I mean, I just don't understand. I go way back. My worst one, I'm going to say, one of my worst one was Marty Schottenheimer, even though this is football, getting fired from the then San Diego Chargers. Most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Winning like crazy. Because they lose in the playoffs, they get rid of them. And they haven't been winning before that, not at that level. And you just get rid of them. I don't understand when teams do that. But I believe they do listen. I believe the owners listen to all the media, all the outside noise, and then come to some of these conclusions.
I agree. I mean, I've come to the conclusion too, first of all, I think if you want to rate coach as far as disposability, I used to think, you got the NBA and NFL. I don't know who's more at risk to get canned. NBA coaches or NFL coaches. Yeah. Baseball managers, they do, but it seems that baseball managers don't almost exist because the GM is doing the metrics and they're managing the game, and the manager is being told this is what you're going to do pitching wise, very mechanical baseball wise. Right. Almost kind of exclude baseball for this discussion. But the NBA coaches, I think that I would probably think that they're probably just, if not more, a little bit at risk as being fired than NFL coaches. But boy, it's a close call. I used to think they were, but now with the NFL, the way they treat their coaches, I don't know anymore. It's a coin flip. But the three firings this year that jump out at you, that you shake your head, is Vogel getting fired by Phoenix.
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, he won the title with the Lakers. I know it was a bubble title, but he won it.
Right.
And then Ham getting fired by the Lakers. I mean, I guess, the word is, was it, LeBron wanted him out is what they think, that LeBron could have saved him his job, that Durant could have saved the job. I don't for his coach. So here in Cleveland, I don't know if the players had any say in it. I don't think they did, but I think Cleveland was more of an ownership. If you want to see, Ham got fired because he got into it with LeBron about not reviewing a play. Who knows?
Right.
I just don't understand why they love to fire their coaches. Like Vogel was doing a good job. I mean, granted, they got bounced in the first round, but 1 year.
Yeah. But didn't they get bounced before he was there? With the other coach?
I think they did.
Yeah, they was put out early last time too. What's the difference?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
In the NFL, like I said, I just don't get it anyway. You know, I think all the way back to Garrett being the Dallas Cowboys coach, and they finally said, well, let's get rid of him. And maybe justifiably so. But you tell me what's the difference since he's been gone?
No, if anything, that's just it.
Yeah, I mean, they got more, and the offense has been even more explosive. That's true during the regular season. But I haven't seen anything that's different after when it got to the time for playoffs. What's the difference? Same team, same results. Now, maybe this year will be different, but that's what we have seen, and I just don't be understanding why coaches, they be asking them. My favorite coach is of the fired coaches, and he probably won't get a coaching job again in the NFL as a head coach, is Lovie Smith. And the reason I say Lovie, I love Lovie, because some way it got out about he didn't know he was going to get fired or not. They gave him a vote of confidence, young team, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody leaked that right after this game, we're firing him. After the last game, we're firing him. And when he got word of that, they said he got word of it that practice week. They said he was so intense at practice. And when they went into that game on Sunday, he said, we're not losing this game. We're doing everything. We're pulling all the stops out. They did fake punts. They did all kind of stuff. And that owner was mad because he lost the first pick in the draft. Even though he went out, see, he actually should be happy with Lovie. Lovie allowed him to get the second pick.
And that, yes.
But it's just funny.
Yeah, well, Lovie was with Houston, the Texans.
But I loved it that he did that.
The owner wanted them to lose the game. You would think they would investigate that.
Yeah, and they said the owner was down there on the sideline, and he was seething hot at Lovie. And they said Lovie was just smiling.
You could see it in his face. He was absolutely beside himself because Lovie Smith knew he was getting canned, so he went out of the way to win that game.
and I'm glad because I don't understand as a player. And I'm going to go in the game and I'm going to try to lose.
Well, no, and that's, right. And that's the whole thing with the tanking thing. That to me, tanking is a media generated concept that they love to throw out and say the team's tanking. And anybody that either has interviewed athletes or played, as you have, in that environment at a high level, you know that is totally ludicrous because there's no guys in a locker room that want to tank.
Yeah.
Nobody. And because they're playing, they might know that their contract is up and this is, but they're playing hard because they know someone's looking at them.
Yeah, that's the things that don't make sense.
Right.
I'm going to go out here and just mess up on purpose. Not only is the coach going to get fired, I probably lose my chance of coming back here. And then when people look at that film, who's signing me? Nobody. So it just don't make any sense to do it. Not going to say it's not a player that has done it, but that is just insane when I think about it. Even to think about it. I even think when you go half, some guys want to go half speed. I think that's one of the most dangerous things to do playing that sport is to go half speed. I do believe you will get hurt.
Well, and
playing half speed in that sport.
And that's the big argument about all-star games, especially NFL all-star games, is guys trying to go half speed because they don't want to get hurt. because it's an all-star game and they're worried about getting hurt. Exactly. You hear and read about it. A lot of athletes say that's the time more apt to get hurt.
Yeah.
Is when you're trying and you're mentally thinking of not getting hurt. It's almost that you're more apt to get injured.
Yeah, it is, because you can't have that on your mind. Oh,
no,
you play. Can't do that.
You can't be thinking like I think that when you think about sports, again, you've played, but I think there's instinct that you know what to do, but you can't be out there thinking. Like, you're in a situation, you know who's going what, but then you have to react. And then the same thing in basketball. Like, you have to be able to just react. You know a play, but you react.
Right.
And you're not thinking as, what am I going to do? You don't have time to do that. So you practice, so you know what play's coming up, but you react. It's more of a reactionary quick than you are like thinking what to do.
Yep, absolutely.
That's halftime already, Dave Clark. This has flown by. We got a whole second half to do, and we got a lot to get to with TV contracts. Back after halftime, Sports page on Western Reserve Radio. 330-707-4202.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio. WRDB, The Scourge.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Saturday morning sports page coming right back at you. Second half of the show, start of quarter number 3. 330-707-4202. Memorial Day weekend. Again, shout out to all our veterans who served our country, lost their lives, made the ultimate sacrifice. Keep them in your thoughts and prayer this weekend. And also, we're remembering our fallen veterans, but again, let's keep our current veterans that are alive still in our mind and in our prayers. As we get into the hour, quarter number 3, second half of the show, Dave Clark, we did leave the show. First hour, we talked a lot about the NBA playoffs and the coaching what I'll call fiasco in the NBA. Coaches getting fired, people change their shirts. NBA owners, I think I agree with you that I think they either get infatuated with what the media is telling them about coaches and decide it's time to make a change. Again, I know sometimes we see it where players aren't going to play well for the coach. There's dissension. As we talked about, Chuck Daly made the comment one time years ago. They were talking about interviewing him after he won a few titles, I believe 2 titles with the Pistons. They were interviewing him and asking him, like, Chuck, you're a great coach. And he just was shaking his head. He goes, look, in the reality of life, these players let me coach them. If these guys decide I'm not the guy, I'm out the door. And he goes, that's just the reality. The players allow me, they let me coach them. And Dennis Rodman swore that Chuck Daly was like a second father to him. Played hard for him. Rodman, one of the best rebounders in history, but all those players that played for him in Detroit played hard. They won 2 titles. And, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But getting back to the situation with the NBA, hold on. Anyway, technical difficulty. Anyway, where were we? Yes, we were talking about the NBA situation out there. And anyway, coaches being basically treated as pretty much disposable underwear or disposable undershirts. But let's look at, I guess, moving forward, we have these 3 vacant spots. JJ Redick looks like he's going to be going to the he's going to be a Laker coach, or he's in the discussion.
Right.
Cleveland's looking for a coach, and obviously Phoenix has hired Budenholzer, who was fired by Milwaukee. Again, we couldn't figure that firing out either. These guys almost get into a musical chair situation. So anyway, at the end of the day, I guess the question, who do you think is out there that Cleveland could potentially hire? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I can't think of anybody
Maybe
at all.
because we were shocked by this firing to start.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think that would happen. I'm looking at the injury reports you're playing, like I said, without Donovan in there. And even in that team lost those games, and they actually was very competitive against Boston for as long as they could be, under the scale of what they were playing with. But that's why I was just shocked when I seen that come across my phone and said he was out. I'm like, you need to go into a different direction. And I started thinking, okay, who out there, unless you're telling Stan Van Gundy to quit broadcasting and come back and start coaching. I don't know what you're doing. I have no clue right now of who that could be. I mean, I really can't. And I know it's got to be some names out there, some guys that's been away for a minute, but I'm right now. I can't think of anybody that they can go and get that's going to make a big and significant. That's the thing. There are probably names out there that I probably could think of, but I'm talking about who do we know that significantly can change something? I can't think of anybody. It starts to make me think what they're going to do. Try to go to Connecticut and steal their coach. See if he'll come to the NBA instead of Connecticut basketball. I don't know.
It seems like we lost Pat from New Jersey. So we'll step aside for a quick timeout. You're listening to the Saturday Morning Sports Page here on Western Reserve Radio.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Accidents happen. That's why you need Repair That Glass. Specializing in windshield replacement and all other auto glass, we offer a full range of automotive glass repairs. Our technicians can do everything from minor chip repair to a complete replacement. Your windows don't go up or down, they can fix that too, along with custom glass work and antiques. Repair That Glass is a family-run business for over 40 years. Repair That Glass. Call for your appointment now at 330-534-3192.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Yeah, back. Saturday Morning Sports Page. Pat Lucia. Minor technical difficulty, working through it. Dave Clark, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we were at, as where we were, talking a little bit about the coaching carousel in the NBA. At the end of the day, Cleveland is looking for a coach. So are technically the Lakers. And we'll see basically where they fall on it. Rumor was that Redick seems to be the lead-in for the candidate. He's never been an NBA coach.
Right.
So I don't know. Then you start to wonder. I mean, he played, good player. I guess he's an okay analyst. I've heard some of it. But at the end of the day, he's doing the games now on ESPN. But bottom line is, we'll see what ultimately the Lakers and the Cavaliers, I have no idea what they're going to do either. Where they're going to go with this coaching search, who are they going to bring in, who's going to be better than Bickerstaff. I heard it was Atkinson, who used to coach the Nets, was one of the names in the hat.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say he's a bad coach because he had some terrible teams at the Nets when he was there.
Right.
So I mean, he has some players, but as a team, it wasn't very good. I mean, I hadn't heard names like I said. I've heard names like even Becky Harmon. She's high on a lot of lists of being a head coach. I mean, she worked with our guy in San Antonio for so long.
Yeah.
So, and she got the respect of the NBA players. So that's one name when it comes from the female side. Sam Cassell's another guy that's hanging around. Right. And we done heard his name many times, but nothing's happened. I mean, I don't know who you bring back. Terry Stotts. That guy's been around for so long. So many different places. I don't know who you bring back.
It's almost like a musical chairs.
Yeah. I mean, you almost really do have to go to some guys that probably never have been coaches. You probably have to. I was looking up something here now, just pull something up, and they got the number one guy, trying to rank him is Chris Quinn, 6-year NBA veteran. He's been there for 10. Okay, he's been with the Heat on the coaching staff for the last 10 years. So, I mean, being a guy that comes from under our guy, Pat Riley, Spoelstra, you would think he should know something.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point. I think we're all going to have to, like I said, wait. And then, the question's basically going to be, rolling out the teams next year with the new coaches. I'm almost to the point, and I get it more with the NBA, and then we'll move on because I kind of want to get to the NCAA now is going to start paying players.
I've seen it. I got to ask you one question before we do switch from the coach. Just one guy I just want to know. I didn't bring him up because it seems like he's an afterthought when it comes to NBA coaching, and I just don't understand it. Why don't we hear the name? And it should be like immediate. Mark Jackson. Come on. How is this guy not an NBA coach with the NBA knowledge that Mark Jackson has? Because his one stint in Golden State, he was a hard-nosed coach. They weren't crazy about it. Steph Curry and all these guys. And they basically railroaded that guy out of there. And he has never been a coach since.
Yeah. Mark Jackson, that's a great question. I've heard some things about him that I would rather probably not say on the air what I think where some issues are with him, with players. And that's a great question. The question does come down to Pete. There are some people out there believing that he has been basically, shunned by the NBA, whatever reason he did when he was with Golden State. And he's never going to get another NBA job again. It's almost like the league, the brass, the owners, his name is out there. There's no one to hire.
Right.
And I know there's reasons why. I'd rather, like I said, I've heard rumors, and I would rather not say, well, this is a reason, because I don't know if it's true. It could be a rumor. But you bring up the excellent point is he's not coaching. We've heard him doing the games with Van Gundy. Mm-hmm. ESPN, I thought, had the best duo doing an NBA game with Van Gundy and Jackson.
Right.
And they're no longer, they got rid of both of them. And now, I mean, I don't watch a game because of who's doing the game, but I could just tell you that the ESPN broadcasters, I think Doris Burke and Reddick, they're okay, but they're not Mark Jackson and they're not Van Gundy.
Right.
Jeff Van Gundy. Now, Stan does it with Reggie on TNT. They're very good. I like listening to Stan Van Gundy and Reggie Miller, maybe because one coached and one played, a lot like ESPN had with Jeff Van Gundy, Stan's brother, and then Mark Jackson played, and then he actually coached too. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. Mark Jackson should be a head coach somewhere, and especially when you're seeing all the coaches going in and going out. And why isn't Mark Jackson coaching in the NBA? Because he definitely has the knowledge and the talent. He played, and he did coach Golden State. And I don't know. I don't understand why either. Now he's not even in the NBA in any capacity. Right. Since he was let go by ESPN, and he's not doing the games, obviously. So he's just outside looking in, and he's way too talented to be doing what he's doing, or probably not doing.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a great question. And again, it's unfortunate that whatever or who Mark Jackson has got someone upset with him. His name is not in the loop to being an NBA coach, and I don't understand why either.
Mm-hmm.
Because he definitely could show you. He definitely has the potential to coach, a hard-nosed coach, maybe on the line of a Thibodeau, maybe, but still a good guy and a good coach. Or if he's not doing coaching, he definitely should be doing an NBA game. Okay. If he's going to be, if he's not coaching, he should still be. They should have him doing an NBA game. Somebody should hire him.
Yeah. No.
So it's a mystery, and again, I've heard of reasons why. I'm not sure they're accurate, but all I do know is he's not coaching.
Yep.
But so, yeah, the NBA coaching carousel does lead a little to be desired as far as logic. And even to some extent, so does the NFL coaching carousel, as we always talk about. At the end of every year, you basically have what they call Black Monday, where, all the coaches get canned within about a 2 or 3 day period. And then they pretty much, recycle in and recycle guys out. And again, the NBA is kind of that way too. Only they don't have a specific day. They just wait till the season's over, whoever it is, and then they usually fire the coach sometime right after the season's over. Some wait, but some usually don't. So, yeah, it's a wonder. Getting on to a little bit, I did want to talk about one of our favorite topics. It looks like that the college, can I say that maybe put it as the chickens are coming home to roost?
Yeah, kind of late though.
A little late.
Now
you're saying better late than never.
Yeah, I guess
you're right.
Yes, because they want to play. They want to pay him now. But but can you pay him what these guys are getting with their NIL deals? Probably not.
Well, and this is the thing is with this. Before everybody starts jumping on, they're paying to play. They're going to get paid to play. Yada yada. Well, the more I read this, it's probably not what people think, in that it says thousands of student athletes, both past and present, are in line to receive a share of a $2.8 billion settlement resolving an antitrust lawsuit against the NCAA, our favorite, and the nation's 5 biggest conferences. Okay? Now, the challenge now will be deciding how much each player gets paid and why. And this is a 2020 complaint that was filed in Northern California by an Arizona State swimmer, Grant House, and Sedona Price, a former Oregon and a TCU basketball player, accused the NCAA along with the 5 wealthiest conferences of improperly their name, image, and likeness. So now it looks like the finer details are being ironed out, and it just seems that they're going to pay the 5 large conferences $2.77 billion over 10 years, and they're going to pay 14,000 college athletes, mainly basketball and mainly football.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it lays out. But now the question, and it says the deal must still be approved by a federal judge overseeing the case and the challenges. So they're saying that they really this is just the start of it, and they can actually at some point challenge this. So it's kind of like wait and see what happens. And then the question is going to be, from what I've read, is the only players that are going to get compensated would be football players and basketball players, men football and men basketball, none of the other sports. And then the question is going to be how much. And, it could be like you're going to get $6,000. And now they're going to have to try to determine what exactly, who gets it and how much. So that has to wait to be seen.
Yeah.
The questions ultimately going to come down to, we've talked about this many times, although people are saying, hey, this is a landmark case. Does it open door for colleges starting to pay the athletes directly? And why do I think that this might sound good on paper and look good, but when they start to administer the money and see where it all ends up. I mean, it's going to be like a one-time payment, but what does it mean long-term? That's the question that I have.
Yeah.
Is what does this mean long-term moving forward?
Yeah. Well, I I'm thinking that NCAA is trying to make themselves look good. After all the mishaps they had, people been saying this for the longest. Years back, they were all against it. Then when people start looking at it logically, of these guys are out there playing this game, which is a dangerous game, and risking their self, and then you're selling their jerseys, you're selling things with their picture on it, things like that, and making millions, that it's only right that they should get paid. So now you want to jump in and finally say we're going to make a payment and make it look good. And what makes it look good is that 2.8 million that in the headlines. So I mean, not million, but is it billion?
Billion.
So it makes it look great. Oh wow! Yeah. But when you think about all the schools and the players that you got to distribute this out to,
right?
It's not going to be a big, enormous figure. So is they going to continue to do it? We'll see. But it's still going to be the NIL. It's going to be the leading thing of getting certain players to go certain places. And sometimes they'll even opt for one place. And then if they find out over here got a better deal, some of them are going to leave. Now, some guys, some of them, I will say, they go to places where they feel they want to go to school to. And they know they could still get an NIL deal there, even though it might be better somewhere else. They still go to that particular school because that's where they want to go. So, you still got some players that are steadfast and picking just like the old times of going where they want to. But, that money factor, it always talks. So there'll be guys going places they really probably don't even want to be at, but because they're giving so much money out, that's where they'll go. So we got that. I mean, we got college free agency, as we said.
Right.
People are crying about it. Not me. I'm not crying about it because a lot of these things wouldn't be happening if they would have changed a lot of things a long time ago. And we've been on these airways for a long time.
I know we've talked about this at length in previous shows.
I mean, in years back, too. That we can go way back since we've been talking about paying players and different things they can do as far as the players. And now here in 2024, they're talking about it. I mean, we can go way back. And we were talking about these same instances, what they need to do, but they were still trying to find out who was, giving somebody the hamburger from McDonald's. So that's what we've been dealing with.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it that you have. Is bottom line is the NCAA has been screwing around with this, and since they've been getting beat in court on a regular basis. In fact, I don't believe they've won a court case at all.
I don't know.
I believe everything I've ever read.
Yeah,
they've lost literally every court case that they've ever had. Because the courts just are not going to basically buy into it. The courts are not going to rule in favor of the NCAA. And they've been holding on to this absolute obsolete model for years, where they've obviously made a lot of money. They've made so much money all these years off the players, off their image and likeness. Mm-hmm. And now, now you're right. When I look at this and I read this, people are saying, well, this is going to open up the door to them getting directly paid by the NCAA. I mean, they're going to, college, you're going to have to pay these kids direct. And to this day, I don't see it happening.
Right.
But I know one thing, they're not going to be able to limit the NIL. I know we've talked about that. They want to limit the NIL, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
legally, it's not going to happen. I know people keep thinking, and I know people are upset because they're using the NIL for pay to play.
Right.
And they've been substituting it, and that upsets a lot of people. Why, I have no idea, because at the end of the day, I don't particularly care if the kids get paid or not. In fact, I think it's a good idea. They should pay them.
Yeah.
Because they're the minor league, and it's a good minor league.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. And you know, and that's where it should have been looked at. I used to, years back, I would listen to the guy that would really, you had these discussions, they'd be really hot up under the collar, talking about, hey, he got a scholarship, it's all paid for, his schooling and everything. But the more and more they talk to me about that, the more and more I tell them, I said, okay, they did. They paid for your college tuition. Okay. I said, but do you know that a lot of times these guys, even though they got a scholarship, they still have to pay for certain materials at school? Oh, no, that's paid through their not all the time. Not all the time. They might, if they have certain labs, different things, they don't pay for that part of it. Certain books they don't pay for. Right. And there's certain things you have to get. They don't pay for it. So where is they going to get this money at? Because if you're on a full scholarship, athletic scholarship, you are not allowed to work.
Right.
So where are they supposed to get this from? So, I had a discussion with a guy like that. He didn't realize that. It's a lot of things behind the scenes.
That's the end of the third quarter. We're going to roll into the fourth quarter after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio, 330-707-4202, Saturday Morning Sports Page. I'm Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. Back after a quick timeout.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
The year was 1907. The Cubs won the World Series and the Ford Model R hit the assembly line. While here in Ohio, school administrators came together to form the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One thing that hasn't changed since 1907 is the dedication of the OHSAA to education-based athletics in Ohio. School sports teach responsibility, sportsmanship, and life lessons that stay with students long after their playing days are over. The OHSAA seeks to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, coming back fourth quarter, 330-707-4202, talking a lot of NBA, a lot of the coaching carousel situation in the NBA. We talked a lot previously about the NFL coaching carousel, and now it's the NBA coaching carousel. Bickerstaff being let go by the Cavaliers. Dave, we both don't understand why. The next coach, sign a 5-year deal. If they fire you after a year, they have to owe you 4 more years. That's what I believe Frank Vogel in Phoenix, they owe him 4 more years under his contract after only 1 year and being out. Darvin Ham is same way. I think they owe him 3 more years.
Right.
So I guess if the NBA, as long as the teams are okay paying these guys, not the coach, and again, it goes back to a large extent. I'm almost to the point where I think you almost go to the players. Who do you want? Who are you going to play for?
Yeah. You almost could do that.
Especially the NBA. Like, go to the guys and say, okay, hey, who will you play for?
Right. Yeah,
instead of us bringing someone in and, you're not going to play, and in the year you're going to want them out anyway. Like Steve Nash did last with Brooklyn.
Right.
He was he was let go. Rumor had it that he and Durant wanted him out, or Kyrie wanted him out. We don't really know, but I think to a large extent in the NBA, the players make the call. But in Cleveland, it wasn't. I don't believe the players had the call. It was the ownership getting rid of Bickerstaff.
Yeah, hey, I definitely believe that, and I believe, like I said, I believe they listen to the outside noise too, and that got that man fired. But they almost need to do that because what you got in the NBA is tough. I mean, you do have multimillionaires in the NFL, but it's such a large staff. Your coaches are getting pretty big paid too themselves. So that status of who you are, I mean, you got to probably be Pat Mahomes or somebody of that stature to be able to say certain things and get rid of the coach. And that might even be hard task to do in the NFL. But in the NBA, I mean, you got all these young guys. It's a young league. It really is when you think about it. They're coming. You can see all the up and coming stars. And these guys are making so much money. And some of them, they don't have that old school mentality. They feel they're entitled. Haven't done a thing yet. They feel they're entitled. And when that happens, I love watching some of the sideline when they had, what is it called? Audio assists and the coaches are giving a play. And you'll look at the huddle, guys be talking about what they're going to do. The next day, they don't even be listening to the play. It almost cracks me up. I said, it's unbelievable that they'll do that. But they don't do it with all coaches. But you'll see certain coaches, they don't even be paying them no mind. They just go about, to sit there and go ahead and go back in.
Right. And I think that at the end of the day, you're right. You got to have player buy-in. And some of the players don't buy in, but if the players are stars and an intricate part of the team, we've talked about this, then the team will look for a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
That they're not going to look for the new player because the player's the star and they either can't trade him because of a contract or he's too valuable to the team or both. So the easier person to basically dispose of is the coach.
Right.
And that's kind of what, historically happens. It seems more like in the NBA, NFL, it could be an owner. I think a lot of times just doesn't get the results as we see like in Carolina with Tepper, very demanding owner wanting results right away. And, he goes right to the, get rid of the coach. I'm going to bring someone. If I don't get the result I want and don't give me an excuse, get it done. And if you don't get it done, I get someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't have
he doesn't have
no patience,
a patience level.
Yeah.
I.e. reminds me of George Steinbrenner with the Yankees in the 80s. Just had no patience whatsoever and continue to hire, fire, and go through coaches and change players and paying players a lot of money and then getting rid of them, but you still had to pay them because all the contracts are guaranteed.
Right.
But you see this kind of where the turnover, and you see, and you know firsthand that the turnover is usually bad.
Right.
But, he had, not to go off the proverbial range, but getting back, since we're getting into the coach thing, you had Steve Wilkes in Carolina doing a great job, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Players played hard for him. He had the team going in the right direction. And at the end of the year, they got rid of him.
Yeah, that should have never happened.
And as we saw it in Oakland, or the Raiders, now it's L.A., but they had with Bisaccia, a great coach, doing a great job with
Should never got rid of him.
Same way. Good coach.
They learned their lesson this time because it looked like they were thinking about what they might want to do this year too. And then they finally said, "Hey, we better keep the coach."
Right.
And you have to. You got guys that done bought in. That'd be 2 years in a row. If you would have got rid of a guy again, and this didn't happen twice, you better believe some of your star players. Well, the one came out and said he wanted to be traded if Pierce didn't get the job.
I think it was Max Crosby.
Yeah, Max Crosby. He said, he doesn't get the job, trade me.
He said, and I believe there was another player in his corner. Was it maybe Adams, the wide receiver? But it was. I know it was Max Crosby. Was vehemently.
Yeah, Adams too.
I think Adams too. Also,
right. So I mean,
let's go ahead. We've got a call coming in.
Okay.
So let's take that.
Yep, we're ready.
You're ready on the sports page. What's up?
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Dave. How you guys doing?
Hey, Irish Mike. What's happening?
I'm doing well, thank you. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you and your families.
Same to you.
Yeah, same way your way.
Hey, guys, I want to get in a little sports argument that I've had with guys for at least the last 8-9 years, and I think it's more appropriate now than it ever was before. It just deals with the parameters of professional sports. And the example I'm going to use is the Cleveland Guardians, okay? One of the big arguments my friends have had for years and years and years because of the low attendance in Cleveland, especially, and now obviously when you get in April and October and September, with the weather changes, but even during the summertime, the Guardians hold 34,000 people, and sometimes they're lucky if they get 15,000 people at a game. And I've often argued that hurts their payroll in regards to the players they're going to be acquired because they're a small market. They don't get the same radio and TV deals as the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the LAs, etc. And of course, Cleveland sports fans have been, and I know you go through, Pat, with the New York Knicks, they hate the Dolans. They're cheap. They don't want to spend money, yada, yada, yada. And I always thought this, guys, and maybe I'm wrong, professional sports was always about one thing, winning. Do you win? And the Guardians have proved over the last decade or so that they win. And, I argue with Browns fans, which I'm one of them. They haven't won a division since 1989, since Bud Carson was head coach 35 years ago. Yet they have no problem selling out. And I realize that there's only one day football, those 8 or 9 home games a year. It's one day a week compared to baseball that plays every day for 6 months. And I get that concept, but it frustrates me to no end that, like, you look at this year, Pat, the Guardians are 34-17. They got one of the best records in Major League Baseball. Some of these owners got to be looking around the last 10 years and saying, in these big markets, our payroll is $250 to $275 million, and we stink. We're really bad.
Right.
How are they able to do in a small market with a limited payroll and be consistently a winner year after year after year? I mean, and I know winning the World Series, they've come close a couple times, and they got in the playoffs, won playoff rounds, and I'm not trying to be a hypocrite because I say that about the NBA and the Cavaliers, that no one cares about the regular season. It's all about the playoffs in April, May, and June in the NBA. But it's just a frustrating argument with Cleveland sports fans that don't want to go out and support a product that actually wins very consistently.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, when you look at the baseball model is flawed in that there's no cap, no salary cap. There's no salary floor, and so teams can spend, but then there's teams that don't have to spend. And that's always been the big argument with baseball, and it favors the rich owners that want to spend the money to win. But if you look historically, especially when you look at the World Series the last few years, that doesn't, like, look at the Dodgers, how much they spend, the Yankees, but yet the Yankees have not been in a World Series and won it, but 2009. Dodgers won the bubble year, but before that, they had not won, I think, since 1989. So baseball is a strange sport because it really doesn't dictate what you spend. Now, it seems the teams that spend a lot of money can get into the playoffs, but that doesn't guarantee them winning a World Series. So baseball is kind of flawed. They don't have quite the TV deals that we were going to get to. The NBA TV deal that looks like it's going to be on the horizon. Looks like it's going to pay them, I believe, $7 billion yearly. After we read about how bad the ratings are in the regular season NBA, now the TV deals are going to be getting from NBC, Amazon, and ESPN are going to total somewhere close to $7 billion yearly. But in baseball, though, baseball doesn't quite have the TV money, TV deals that NFL's got. They make the most of TV deals. Basically, roughly, they make $10 billion a year, close to over $10 billion a year. Baseball, not so much. But getting back to the way baseball's constructed, it's just it's the third sport. People forget about it once football starts. Ratings aren't that great. Ratings are average at best. They don't get a lot of eyes at the set like it used to be. And, and Cleveland is a football town.
And David, we talked about this a couple months ago. We all agree, all three of us agree, that the smartest move Manfred made was that pitch time clock. It makes the games go faster.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We all agree to that. I think my buddy said he was there in Cleveland the other night. He goes, hey, the game started at 6:10. We were done and out of the stadium by 8:30. We were done walking out of the stadium at 8:30. And it was still light out. He goes, I drove halfway back to Youngstown and it was still light out.
Yeah, and that definitely helps, but I don't know. I don't know.
It's hard to say because, like you said, baseball isn't, baseball runs up against the NFL. And when they have their World Series and their playoffs start, they just don't get the TV. They don't get great TV ratings. And they do get attendance, but certain markets do better than other. The Yankees always draw, I believe, 3 million a year. They always get a lot of people going to their games, and they have the big cable Yes Network. Right. But it hasn't. That doesn't mean they're winning. They're not winning any World Series. They haven't even been in the World Series.
And I guess, gentlemen, why I brought the topic up, earlier this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the New York Mets were in town to play the Guardians in Cleveland. Obviously, Frankie Lindor returned for the very first time since they traded the Mets 3 years ago, for the 2021 season. 4 years ago now, going on 4 years. But he did a pregame on Monday with the reporters, and somebody asked him what he missed most about Cleveland. And you know what Frankie Lindor said? Winning. That's what he said, winning. It's like, and Lucia, you're a New York guy, right? That's a big market. He's making $35 million a year. They gave him a 10-year, $350 million contract, and it hasn't really worked out all that well for him. He's done okay on a scale of 1 to 10. You give him a 5, 5.5, but his numbers have tailed off. The team's not winning, so he's not the most popular guy in New York right now. To be honest with you, right? Because the lack of success and lack of individual success with the big contract.
Yep, that's what happens. But the sport. They didn't try to do a lot of things to enhance it, for the fans to get into it. But I'm telling you, it's just that football has done so much in all kind of areas that it can't even compete. And I look at the situation. When I watched just the ratings, I wanted to see what the ratings was going to be on the UFL. And the ratings just keep going up and up and up. TV ratings on that. And I said, and it being some stands is not even half full. And they getting ratings like that. That just lets you know the marketing for football in that sport is through the roof. And that's why they can stay and sustain so long. And like you said, it's not as many games too. That's a big factor.
And like,
and get it.
Here's the interject is, like I was talking, like how much money do these sports have in money, TV deals total? Baseball, I know people, they only have $2 billion coming in from TV total revenue, and they have it by team. And I know they've had some issues with some of the deals with they had to. I think somebody went under, and they had to make adjustments. But baseball doesn't generate the TV revenue. Football does, by far. In fact, we were talking, TNT is thinking of getting rid of the NBA because they want to get into college football. And the reason why is because they think they're going to get better TV ratings in college football than they are getting in the NBA, is what it's about.
Correct.
So,
and Pat, you know this because we chatted back and forth about this. The NBA has done everything in their power the last 2 or 3 or 4 years with their collective bargaining with the players. They're trying to prevent all these super teams. They don't want those 3 super. They've mixed the rules around in salary cap to prevent that from happening. Like, was this the ESPN radio that they were talking about the first super team being the Boston Celtics when they won the title back in 2008 with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. That was not true in regards to this, Pat. The Celtics had Paul Pierce. They made a trade to get Kevin Garnett. They traded to get Garnett. Right. And then later on, they traded a couple months later to get Ray Allen. So they did not sign as free agents. They made trades where they had to give up players and draft picks to Milwaukee or Seattle for, obviously at the time, Ray Allen, and then to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Kevin Garnett. So those are two. I don't mind trades in baseball, football, basketball. Those are legitimate negotiations. Free agency is a different animal, you know what I'm saying? As far as players, the ability to move or not move.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you go back, and I think that what really sticks to today in all Cleveland fans, but LeBron leaving to go to Miami to join Bosh and Wade, and Bosh leaving Toronto to go join Wade and LeBron. And I mean, that was really the first super team that was constructed that way. That we really remember.
Not through trades, via free agency. Like I said, to this day, I have no problems with trades. Trades are trades in all sports, and I get it. But free agency is different. And they were doing that on purpose, taking different deals. What has surprised you guys? When you talk about sports in general. I know LeBron turns 40 in December, and he's probably got a couple good years left in him because he's kept himself in remarkable shape, so he can play at a high level for at least probably another 2 more years, barring injury. Would it surprise you if he didn't try to come back to Cleveland?
No,
good point. What do you think, Dave?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if you would, because I think not only himself, someone else will probably come along with him. Yeah. If that didn't happen, Donovan Mitchell will stay right where he's at, and you'll have him. And I believe that they'll work something out. Like I said, it might be a fringe type player, but a guy that can definitely play will come to Cleveland. They'll come, especially if he's going there. But I would not be surprised with seeing him show up back in Cleveland and end his career there.
So what if you're LeBron, you turn 40 in December, you probably got 2, maybe 3 years left in you, okay? At a high level. If you want to hang on, some of these guys do, but I don't think he will. I think he's got 2, maybe 3 years left. What's your number one priority right now? I know playing with your son is big to him, and I think he'd like to do that, but I don't think it's the end-all be-all. If you're at LeBron's stage of your career, what's your number one priority?
Right now,
another championship, right?
Yeah, I would want to win another championship.
Yeah, me too.
And
if he stays in LA with that team and even they make a couple trades, I don't see that happening. Do you?
No, that's why I wonder.
They're not good enough.
No, and that's why people don't, it went under the radar, but it was talked about. That's why they was trying so hard to get. It was him and someone else in Golden State during the trade deadline. Right. They was trying to get both of them. I forgot who it was, but I know it was LeBron to team up with them up there at Golden State. But he nixed the deal. He said no, he'll stay. He didn't want to leave in the middle of the season like that. He said he'd stay at LA. But I mean, it just makes me wonder. I'm sure he wants to win another one before he goes out. And
I agree.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the year. He can look around and see.
Here's the deal. If you notice it, LeBron's been with the Lakers, 6 years now?
6 years, yep.
6 years. He won a title in the bubble. But all the other years, he got to do a conference finals and lost to Denver, but then was beat by Denver this year. And then there was 1 year, I believe, he didn't even make the playoffs.
Right.
The point on that is, I think if LeBron makes a move, it's to his benefit to get out of the West and get over to the East Conference, because the West has got too many good teams to navigate through, and the Lakers just aren't constructed. I think. I mean, they could go far, but again, I don't know if they could win the West. I think if he went to a Cleveland, depending on what they had to do to the team, maybe, I don't know if they want LeBron back. I've heard other people say they don't. Well, who knows? But bottom line is,
who knows? Till he signed that deal. That's what they said before. And as soon as that name, he signed that deal, boy, didn't it go nuts in Cleveland. So we know how that goes.
So we know how that goes. They say, well, we don't want him back. Yeah, until they sign him, and they'll all be going, yeah, this is great. We can win another title. You know how the fans go. I think LeBron, though, I think he's really entrenched in Los Angeles with like what he wants to do post-career.
Right.
And I just don't think he's going to leave there. And if the Lakers are open to drafting Bronny, and which I think they should leave the young man alone and let him play college ball and develop his game. I just don't think he's an NBA player. He's not ready. I'm not saying he won't be ready, but I think he needs at least one more season under his belt to really play a lot and develop his game. But again, none of that really matters. Has the
deadline passed, Pat, where he can go back to college? I thought that deadline passed already. So he's staying in the draft, correct? He's staying in.
I don't know if
I'm not sure myself on that. That's a good question.
Because I saw a couple kids earlier this week announce they're going back to school.
I think it's coming up. But I don't know what
the deadline is. I know the draft's around June 21st, so I thought you had to have a deadline. I saw earlier this week about 3 or 4 college players announced they put their name in the draft and they were going back to school for another year. So I didn't know what the deadline was.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what I don't know.
I agree with you, by the way, but I don't think he sees it that way. I mean, I don't know why.
And I know he's been working out. I'm looking here as we're kind of talking, and it looks like he is practicing for other NBA teams out there. Workouts, they're doing workouts in LA. So I'm not sure, and I'll have to get a clarification. I know he's coming up though with it. I think he's got to make a decision. Does he stay in college or enter the NBA? I think it's sometime at the end of May. Might be this week.
Okay.
But I know that's coming up sometime in May. I thought it was toward the end of the month. So, but you're right. I mean, ultimately, now I was going to throw this out. What if some team drafts LeBron's son? What would happen? Like, what if some other team would just draft him?
Right.
And then kind of almost, I don't want to say hold him hostage, but say, hey, to the Lakers, you want him, we want Pitt. We want something for him. And I wonder if there's a team out there that would just do that with the idea that, okay, we're going to draft him, even though, we don't know if we're going to play him, he could play or be out, whatever. But they could kind of hold him saying, okay, to the Lakers, if you want Bronny, we want something in return. Or are they just going to let the Lakers draft him in the second round, which what people think is going to happen, and then LeBron will sign with the Lakers and they'll play? Because I think that's what everybody. If I was a betting man, I would think that's where it would ultimately happen.
And Pat, if it was someone like, say, just throw a hypothetical team like the Portland Trailblazers with LeBron in the second round, I don't think LeBron has any desire to go play for a rebuilding team in Portland. That's 3 or 4 years away from seriously contending. I mean, for doing anything. So I don't think there's certain teams or certain cities that he'd have no interest whatsoever going to. If the Charlotte Hornets took Bron, he has no interest in going to Charlotte, North Carolina. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then
now, if it's the Boston Celtics, Or if it was the New York Knicks, or the Philadelphia 76ers, where he could look and say, hey, we can win there right away. We're serious contenders from day one when I get there.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point. So that's the question going to be, what are they going to remotely do if LeBron gets drafted, say, by the Phoenix Suns? Or I'm just saying, I'm reading that he's going to do a workout. Bronny James is going to do a workout for the Phoenix Suns. So, he's going to be working out for other NBA teams. What if one of those NBA teams wants to take a flyer, but it's not a team that LeBron wants to go to? Then what would happen?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be
and I know because you guys are up against it real quickly. JB Bickerstaff got let go the other day. Kobe Altman, the general manager, did a press conference yesterday, and obviously said they want to move forward. He did a great job for 4 years, but they want to take that next step. It's quite obvious. Everybody in the Cleveland sports fan, media, press, you and I, that some of the players were not JB Bickerstaff fans, correct?
Yeah.
That's why he's no longer employed by the Cavs.
Thanks for the call, Irish Mike.
Okay, guys, take care. Have a good weekend.
Everybody have a great, safe Memorial Day weekend. Do not drink, do not drive, buckle up. And we'll be back next week to do it again. This is Saturday Morning Sports. Travel Lucia, Dave Clark. Thanks for doing the show as always. Western Reserve Radio.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
Former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's hour 2 of the Lombardi Line, presented by DraftKings. Alongside Michael Lombardi, Stormy Buonantony with you. We are coast to coast as always. Michael out at his office in Jersey. I'm live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Got a great hour ahead on VSiN and DraftKings Network. Coming up in 30 minutes, DraftKings Network host Claudia Bellafato, betting analyst. She'll join us. We'll get into some NBA postseason action. And where we're going to start here, Michael, is NFL OTAs because they are underway. We are getting reports already. Aaron Rodgers is perfect. 5 for 5 different receivers. We've got guys that are at the facility on the practice field, guys that are holding out for the time being. But what does holding out really mean in OTAs? So there's a lot to dive into here.
Right, it's voluntary, so there's really no one holding out. Even if you have a contract, you're not obligated to go, so guys decide not to show. A lot of in and out. There used to be a rule, at least was either you're all in or you're all out, right? The hard part is when, coaches, can you count on a guy to come in? Are you coming today? No, I'm not. That's why when you have off-season workout bonuses within the contracts, you have some uniformity in terms of knowing what to expect, who's going to be there. And if you miss a day, you get a clearance. And even though it's voluntary, you're all in because of it. It's tied to your contract. So, look, don't make too much out of it. And when you have incomplete passes, you should be alarmed because there is no contact. Nobody's contesting a throw down the field. So all this nonsense about Aaron Rodgers is 5 for 5 and 7 on 7. He should be 5 for 5. He can be over to Ocean City High School and line up with the high school team here today and be 5 for 5. Why not? So it's a little bit blown out of proportion. But I think it also tends to look at, and I'd love to hear what you think, is our love of football and how we scrutinize everything. We just can't get enough of it.
Yeah, that's why when we talked last week with the NFL schedule release coming out, I'm like, we have the NBA and NHL postseason on our screens, yet my timeline on Twitter was filled with NFL content about games that we already knew were happening. We already knew the home and road for each team. It just wasn't the order that we needed to be revealed. And that just goes to show it's such good evidence what the NFL is, how popular it is, and how invested we are in the sport. And you mentioned the phrase all in a couple times. I know it was unintentional, but it's a perfect transition to the Dallas Cowboys, who, when it comes to OTAs today, do not have CeeDee Lamb out there at the facility, do not have Micah Parsons. Both players, obviously, they're high on the priority list for Jerry Jones in Dallas to get under contract. Dak Prescott, still haven't seen anything firm, but he is expected to be there at the Star in Frisco.
Well, I would think he would be. Look, let's face it. He's he's under contract. He's the team leader. He should be there. CeeDee Lamb is technically under contract. They picked up his 5th year, but we know he's looking for a deal. He's waiting for I think he's waiting for Jefferson to get done. I think he wants to do a deal before Jefferson gets done because then he can make the case, well, I'm better than Jefferson. Not sure that works, but at least he'll get as close to Jefferson as he can. And same thing with Parsons. I mean, Jerry, when he said he was all in, he was going to open the vault up for Parsons and for Lamb to pay those two and then have to pay Dak, who's already really overpaid. And I think ultimately Dak is going to continue to get paid because Dak's sitting there saying, well, Goff got this. I should make more than Goff. And maybe he's right. But that's what happens when the league is making so much money. It's got to go to somebody.
Well, and that's what we talked about last week when Jared Goff did get his deal done. The price tag's just going to continue to raise. He's now the second highest player in average annual value, over $200 million for 4 years. 35-year-old Kirk Cousins gets $180 million over 4 years, $100 guaranteed coming off a torn Achilles. And even Baker Mayfield got 9 digits, $100 million over 3 years. You have Dak, who's waiting in the wings. You have Tua and Trevor Lawrence, who both, by the way, are there for OTAs despite ongoing contract negotiations there. Jordan Love is going to be coming up soon. Just keep going down the list. The price tag is going to get higher and higher for these quarterbacks.
And for kickers, Stormy, Eddie Pinero's is holding out. He wants a new deal. I mean, kickers are people too. He's got to get a new deal. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Kickers are people too. I mean, that just made my day.
I mean, come on. He's holding out. Are you kidding me? Look, I know you need a good kicker. I get it. But Eddie Pinero hasn't exactly been like Adam Vinatieri or some of the other great kickers in our lifetime. I mean, seriously.
If he keeps holding out, Michael,
he is underpaid,
if he keeps going out, just go to the UFL. Get Jake Bates from Michigan, baby. He's ready and waiting. Him multiple 60-plus yarders.
I asked somebody in the league who's going to sign him, and I thought New England would be a team, and they said, no, New England's not in on him. And I'm like, why? Why wouldn't New England be in on this guy? And they brought Joey Silva back. Joey's missed so many kicks in it. He's got a great leg, don't get me wrong. But there's no way when he runs out there to make a clutch kick, you're thinking he's got this. There's just no way. I'm sorry. Right? I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen. But obviously, New England doesn't see it that way. They're going to go with Ryland.
And who
killed him last year? Who killed him?
It's fascinating, Michael, in the NFL that there are 32 of these jobs out there, and you still have such a lack of confidence for the bulk of, I feel like, field goal kickers that come out there in the NFL. And I mean, same thing, we talked so much about quarterbacks and injuries last year. There's only so many of these jobs available, yet there's still a difference in the upper echelon of the league at that position versus the bottom. It's crazy to see the disparity there. But because you talked about CeeDee Lamb waiting for Justin Jefferson also not there at OTAs for the Minnesota Vikings. But I think that's interesting that CeeDee Lamb is going to try to get as close to as possible as what Justin Jefferson gets, because you tell me your opinion on this. Justin Jefferson's the better wide receiver to me, and I think to the majority of the football world. So I don't see a world where CeeDee Lamb is going to get more than that.
Yeah, but you're using logic, Stormy. In this free agent market, there is no logic, right? I mean, there's no way Jared Goff should be the second highest paid quarterback in the league, right? Mm-hmm. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not the second best highest paid quarterback. But this is what happens when water seeks its level. When one guy gets a deal, it sets the market for the next guy. And the quality of comparison doesn't really apply. It applies to, I need the guy, here is the market. And you can't really get a guy to take less than market deal. Should Tua be the highest paid quarterback in the league if that comes through? I find that hard to believe. Now, I'm sure some people would argue they think that's right. I don't. However, that being said, it's just look at the NBA. I mean, look how many guys are making money in the NBA that haven't the value of what they bring. It's by the TV deal. We get so caught up in the money, but the money is proportional to the income that they're bringing in. And you have to always quantify that.
So let's go down that road a little bit deeper, Michael, because today's What's on Michael's Mind is actually framed about the NBA and in relation to NFL and some of the dollars and cents that are going to some of these players. Take us through it.
Well, look, somebody put out a list, and I forget where I saw this, where they had the highest paid NBA players that are still in the playoffs. And there's only one, Rudy Gobert. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Steph Curry at $52 million, Embiid at 46, 47, LeBron, the Joker, Bradley Beal, Durant, Lillard, Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I mean, the Clippers have $90 million, $91 million guys they barely see on the court. I mean, it's must be pretty good to be a billionaire to watch $90 million just never see it play, right? And so, like, you wonder, like, at what point do you get your money value back? Now, look, I understand part of the equation is they bring eccentric value to the league. People are paying for this. The prices go up. They deserve it. Completely agree. But like I said yesterday, in coaching is when you get paid, there's an expectation. Like Deshaun Watson has a huge expectation on his plate because he can't keep being $250 million guaranteed and not produce wins. At some point, you have to produce wins. LeBron produced wins. You know, some of these guys are getting paid for past performance, not for future endeavors. Whereas, you know, guys like Goff, he's going to have to win a Super Bowl, right? Or else he's going to look at he made a lot of money. Guys like Embiid, you can't be the second highest paid player in the league and not even get to the Eastern Finals. Think about it. So at some point, the level of expectation, and I think the NFL, as these numbers continue to go up, there's going to be less tolerance for people that are making this kind of money without delivering wins.
Yeah, I think that's a great example in comparison that where we're at, like pay does not always equal performance. And you think about some of those marquee contracts that have gone bad. You mentioned Deshaun Watson, but Ezekiel Elliott, when he gets paid in Dallas, like that's probably why Jerry Jones has all the emotional damage that he does about paying players right now. But it's a great point. And because Jared Goff did so recently get paid, and the Lions have made such steady steps of getting closer, and they make an NFC championship this past year, they have it in their grasp and let it fall away. You need to get back there. You need to keep continuing to take those steps forward. You have the experience on that stage. You have to continue to grow. And now it's not only Goff that's paid, it's Penei Sewell, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. And we've talked a lot this weekend last about the hunger you need to maintain after your guys do make that payday.
No question. And at some point, you want to win. You have to win. It really only comes down to winning, right? It only comes down to, did we win a title? You know, for all the money San Francisco's paid for all their skill players, they got to win. And they've gotten to the 2 Super Bowls they haven't been able to come through, right? You got to win, and they've won. You know, same thing with the Chiefs. I mean, look, the Chiefs get rid of Tyreek Hill and they win 2 Super Bowls. Think about that for a moment.
I know, Michael, but I didn't expect you to throw the 49ers under the bus there just now, okay? But you're 100% right. It just hurts my soul. And I joked about this with Elliot earlier.
But they have won, though. My point is they have won. They've gotten there, right? I mean, it isn't like they haven't gotten there. They've got to. They just haven't been able to. They've had leads in the fourth quarter of those games. They just haven't been able to close them out. They're completely different than, say, like, you know, a team that's like, that has spent a ton of money that hasn't come through.
They've gotten there, but the window is closing. And eventually you're going to have to figure out what to do with the wide receiver room. Eventually you're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. And so I just keep thinking about it from that standpoint. You've gotten there, but you haven't won. And the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that used to be very likable and that I enjoyed a lot, that after those Super Bowls, and I mean, all the offseason craziness that they've had too, becoming less likable by the day. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come on the Lombardi Line.
We're this close to crowning an NBA champ, and with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New to DraftKings? Listen up. New customers can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500. Just deposit at least $5 and you'll get a bonus bet back equal to your first bet if it doesn't hit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code VEGAS. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. One new sweat bet per new customer. Issued as one bonus bet based on amount of initial losing bet. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/bball for eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you are ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-858-6811. 800-858-6811. 800-858-6811. That's 800-858-6811.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there. So you passed a bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal...
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
Have a full subscription now for just $199. Sign up today because we're also giving you an extra 2 months for free if you do. That's 14 months of VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day when you use the promo code Lombardi. With VSiN Pro, you'll gain instant access to our daily best bets with a leaderboard to see which VSiN expert has the hot hand, betting splits to show you where the money and bets are moving for each and every game, betting systems, premium analysis, and 24/7 video access. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe today to claim your 14 months of VSiN Pro for only $199, but you got to use that promo code Lombardi. Welcome back into this Tuesday edition of the Lombardi Line. Michael Lombardi and Stormy Bonantoni with you. And this is the time of year, Michael, in the NFL offseason where everybody's excited about their team. There's all this optimism, but only a handful are actually going to go on to make the playoffs. Only one is going to win the Super Bowl. So we wanted to go through some of these perceived contenders and teams that have a lot of hype around them right now and see if we as bettors should believe the hype or not. Sound good?
Sounds perfect to me. There's a lot of hype. We know that. Everybody's loves everybody, right?
We are going to start with the hype train of all hype trains, everybody's favorite team in the New York Jets, led by Aaron Rodgers, who's back off Achilles surgery. Robert Saleh said in his Tuesday press conference yesterday, by the way, Rodgers is doing everything. He'll have no restrictions during OTAs. We joked about the report off the top of the show here that he's 5 for 5 to 5 different receivers. He's apparently putting on a show out there at OTAs and 5-on-5 and 7-on-7, all the things. Is this a team that people should believe the hype on?
They certainly should. I mean, look, let's face it. The guy is a good player. He was a good player. And the hype is centered around the 21-22 season, the 20 and 21 season. The 22 season wasn't good enough, right? And so the 23 season, we never saw him. So we know that he's coming off a bad year in Green Bay and then the injury. So I do think they deserve the hype. They are good on defense, right? They have made some adjustments to their offensive line, which should help. And Rodgers will certainly help them by getting rid of the football very quickly. However, that being said, there's a lot of if factors to the Jets' hype, right? If they can stay healthy. I do think it's smart that the league put them in a lot of games early to get a taste for what they're going to become, because if they have certain injuries at certain positions, this could fall apart pretty quickly.
Win total for the Jets, 9.5. It is juiced to the over at -130. New York, just for reference, hasn't had more than 7 wins in a season since 2015. They have the longest playoff drought in American major professional sports right now. Yet the hype and expectations, to your point, are sky high, and rightfully so because of the talent that they have on their team. Early on in the season, though, DraftKings has wins in their first 5 games. The favorite of this board right now for the Jets is for them to come out of those first 5 with 3 wins. They're at San Francisco to start off the season on Monday night, at Tennessee on the short week, versus New England, versus Denver, and against Minnesota in an international game. So certainly 3 to 4 very winnable games there. We've talked about how San Francisco is hot and cold in season openers. If you had to pick one of these numbers that stood out to you for how many wins they would have through the first 5 weeks, what stands out?
I would say 3 at +160.
Okay.
They should be able to come back. They beat the Titans, beat the Patriots. The Broncos game will be a challenge. And then, between the Broncos and the Vikings, they got to split one of those and you get it.
Okay. For them to go winless in the first 5, 50-1, 1 win, 10-1, 2 wins, 3-1, 3, like we said, +164.
It's hard for them to go winless.
I think so.
I can't imagine they could go winless.
They're too good. I mean, you get.
What would you play? What would you play? 3 or 4?
I actually think 4 is pretty reasonable if all goes to plan.
Yeah.
If all goes to plan for this team right out the gates, I think 4 is actually very much so in play. But 3 +164 +200. How about the Atlanta Falcons? Let's stick with quarterbacks that are coming off of Achilles surgery. Kirk Cousins, by the way, claims he's good to go. He said on the Dan Patrick Show this week, I've told people for a while that if the Super Bowl were today, I'm playing. Well, how about if the regular season were today? How would you be doing, Kirk? Their win total set at 9.5, juiced to the over as well, -135. High expectations for this Falcons team. Should we believe the hype?
No, I don't think we believe the hype here. Because look, they're just not good enough on. Are we sure they're good on defense? Are we sure they are? That's the problem I have. Now, look, I think Raheem Morris is going to help them, no question, as a defensive coordinator. Jimmy Lake's there with him. He's also from the Rams. Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator. I think we're not sure whether Cousins is going to be the right player. Is the offensive line going to be good enough? Do they have a home field advantage? I think there's a lot of hype here. This is the same hype last year. I think everybody's over-evaluated Atlanta. Atlanta thought they were 1 player away. I'm not sure of that.
For their first 5 wins, the season opens up against the Steelers. They're at the Eagles. Then they have the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs against the Saints and against the Bucks. How many wins would you expect them to have as you're looking at that schedule? That's the harder part of their schedule, by the way.
Yeah, that's a hard one. They don't have it easy. They don't have it easy. Boy, this is a tough one here. I'll go 3 in the first 5. What do you think?
Yeah, I was saying, so it depends if you're believing the hype. If you're believing the hype, you think 3, 4 at least, right? If you're not believing the hype, you probably say 2, say the Steelers are going to be really tough out. At Philadelphia is hard. Kansas City, you mark that as an L, right? Like, it just depends on which view you have of this team. I'm not sure yet. I think I'm going to use those early season games as a radar for me of whether or not I should believe the hype. But as of the preseason, I'm not confident. You got a 35-year-old coming off an Achilles. We don't know what we're going to get from the defense, as you referenced. I don't have the confidence there in the preseason right now, coming off a 7-win season. Again, the win total for the Falcons, 9.5, an odds-on favorite in the NFC South at -130. The Chicago Bears, Michael, another team that has struggled for years and years and years, yet has a ton of expectations and hype around them with the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, coming to town. They also get another toy to play with in the top 10, Rome Odunze. Lots of offensive talent and a defense that really stepped up their game the back end of last season. Their win total set at 8.5, -165 the juice on the over here. Are we believing the early hype in Chicago?
Well, I think they're going to be much improved. They got to stay healthy. I would say let's buy it. Let's tentatively buy it. 2 road games to start out the season, not easy, right? Houston at Indianapolis. They play 2 teams that they have really no familiarity with at all. Houston from the AFC South, Indianapolis from the AFC South. They come back and play NFC opponents, and then they end up before the bye week, another AFC South team. So 3 of their 5 opponents, they really don't have any relationship with in terms of continuation of play. I think to me, if they can win 2 of the 5 to start off, I think that's pretty damn good, to be honest with you, Stormy.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Can they beat the Panthers? Yeah. Can they beat the Jags? I think the Rams will be a hard game. Matthew Stafford coming back into Soldier Field. He knows how to play in there. You're hoping they could split one of those games in Houston or in Indianapolis. Rookies on the road. I mean, we saw that last year. As good as Stroud was, he struggled early in the year on the road.
I was thinking of those 5 games. 2, you can certainly feel pretty good about locking in if you believe they're going to carry over in a positive way from last season, Tennessee and Carolina. And then it's a matter of if you can split with Houston and Indy, because I personally would think the Rams would be a loss, and I think the Texans is going to be a loss. But Indy could be a win. So I would say 2 or 3 to have 2 wins for the Bears plus 370, 3 in the first 5 plus 215. Let's talk about those Houston Texans, though, because CJ Stroud throwing no-look passes today, according to reports on Twitter coming out of their OTAs. Of course. Stephon Diggs and Danielle Hunter might not be there right now, but they will be. Lots of weapons, expectations that this Houston team is going to take another step forward. They're a plus 110 favorite in the division, minus 140 the juice on the over for 9.5 wins. So a double-digit plus win season for a team that won a playoff game a year ago. Are we believing the hype? Will they continue to build?
Yeah, I think they will. They got a good team. They got a good young quarterback, right? So, and they play the Hall of Fame game, which is interesting. They have the 4 preseason games, which gives them a chance, not that Stroud's going to play in it, but to work through some of this, because they've got a roster of a lot of depth in terms of trying to figure out who should make the team and who shouldn't. They open up at home against Chicago. They got to go to Minnesota. They should be 2-0 going and coming home against Jacksonville. That's a game they have to win at home. Buffalo at home is going to be like a Super Bowl for them, right? Mm-hmm. And it's Sunday at 1. Think about that. It's going to be Sunday at 1 o'clock, that game. Then they go to New England. I mean, they should be 4-1 after 5 games. That's plus 250. Plus, 3 at plus 185. I mean, there's going to probably be an upset somewhere in there. Because remember now, Stormy, everybody has spent a lot of time studying this Houston Texan team. Yeah. They're all over them. I mean, they're going to have to do something different to kind of play a different style or a different look to keep people off of what they want to do.
And there's a difference, too, between last year where you've got a new coaching staff, a rookie quarterback, and everybody's just hopeful that you do okay. Now you have expectations. You were a 10-win team a year ago. You won a critical playoff game in round 1. People think that you're going to be poised to repeat in the division. Like, the way that you're perceived is very different now. So how do you handle that ultimately? Okay, we're going to take a quick timeout.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Last year's RV trip, we met a couple with the same bumper sticker. What are the odds?
Your cousin isn't a good storyteller.
He was a podiatrist, or was it a pharmacist? You don't say. Oh, I can't remember.
But she owns an RV protected by Progressive, and you don't. So until you get your own RV, her stories are the most interesting stories you've ever heard.
Wow, interesting.
And when you do get your own RV, save money by bundling it with your home, auto, or other vehicles with Progressive.
Oh, anesthesiologist. He was an anesthesiologist.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
If you didn't catch the handle, here's what you missed.
All right, so let's talk about most wins in the NFL. Now that we've got the schedule, we're taking a look. Like, can you get off to a good start? Can you rattle off
Dear John,
4, 5,
I'm
6,
leaving.
7 in a row?
Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, but remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
You know we here at VSiN and the Lombardi line love to help you out. And right now we have an awesome offer that can do just that. Our annual subscription is usually $240, but if you subscribe right now, you can get it for $199. And you'll also get an extra 2 months for free. So that's 14 months of VSiN Pro access for less than 50 cents a day. And all you need to do to cash in is use our promo code for this show, Lombardi, Lombardi. With VSiN Pro, you'll gain instant access to our daily best bets with a leaderboard to see which VSiN expert has the hot hand, betting splits to show you where the money and bets are moving for every game, betting systems, premium analysis, and 24/7 video access. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe today to claim your 14 months of VSiN Pro for only $199. But you got to use that code Lombardi. Alongside Michael Lombardi, Stormy Bonantoni with you. Time to discuss if with the hype train rolling for these NFL teams, if we want to hop on the train or take the risk of just jumping off and saying, sorry, Charlie, that's not going to happen. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys, who maybe there's not the usual amount of hype around them, but because they are the Dallas Cowboys and they're America's team, they're being talked about more than just about any other team not named the Jets. So 3 straight 12-win seasons, Michael. Win total set at 10.5. Juice is actually on the under here, -120. Over is at even money. But are you believing the hype that in what feels like a Super Bowl or bust year, that things could happen for Dallas?
I'm not buying that hype. I have said this and have been on record. I thought they overachieved last year. Nobody wants to. It's like Mike McCarthy's like Tom Thibodeau. Nobody wants to give him credit for anything, right? Nobody, no matter what happens with the Knicks, it wasn't Thibodeau. It was something else, right? It was the water at the garden. It was the popcorn. You know, it's the same thing with Dallas. Dak has his best year, and it wasn't McCarthy. It had to be Kellen Moore's tutelage when he left. I don't know. But to me, the concerns about the offensive line, their inability to beat good teams, and who is going to help, who's going to cover on defense? Diggs last year missed all the season with ACL. He takes a lot of chances. How good are they on defense? Parsons' contract always worries you. CeeDee Lamb's contract always worries you. You know, and then you look, they open up on the road in Cleveland, you know, and if things don't go well, say they go to Cleveland and lose, come back and beat the Saints, right? And say they lose at home to Baltimore. Now they get to go play the Giants, Pittsburgh, and Detroit before. I mean, they have a chance to be 3-3, but 3-3 in Dallas is going to weigh heavy on you.
If you think you can get 3 of those wins, plus 190 in the wins in the first 5 games market that you saw on your screen a moment ago. But yeah, it's a team, Michael, that has so much pressure on them. And this was one of those things that I already knew the answer because we talked about it in hour 1. But I still had to tee it up, like see if maybe I could tie you in and buy you in on doing something else. You mentioned the lack of success against good teams. Another team that had that narrative about them is the Miami Dolphins. They had the number 1 offense in the NFL last year. They returned to Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, added more talent, bringing in OBJ and Jonnu Smith. But can you believe in Tua and the hype around this team, especially when you take the defense into consideration? New DC and Anthony Weaver, no Christian Wilkins, at least 4 new starters on that side of the ball. Should we get on the hype train or off?
Well, I'm not on the hype train. I think the East isn't as good as it was last year. I still think Buffalo, because of Josh Allen, is the best team. But if you think they can get 3 wins, if they have Buffalo and Jacksonville at home, and they have Tennessee, and they go to Seattle and they go to New England. I mean, 3 wins at plus 180 is very doable here, don't you think? Yeah. I mean, 4 wins. I mean, they're going to beat New England. They should beat Jacksonville in the opener. We'll see. Or they should beat Buffalo. We'll see. But playing Buffalo on a Sunday night at home, you got a better chance for a Thursday go to Seattle. Probably be a hard game, but they have a 10-day rest, so that helps them. You got Tennessee at home. They're going to beat those, and then they got to go to New England. And I'm not sure New England's is going to have a hard time. So I think they can win 3. I think plus 180 at 3 wins or plus. But I'm not buying them because I think as the schedule goes, they have Green Bay in November 28th, hard game. They got to go to Cleveland December 29th, cold. The Jets, January. They end up 2 games on the road in cold weather. You're not getting me. And in between those 2 games, before those 2 games, they have San Francisco at home and they have to go to Houston. You're not getting me there on that.
Yeah, so the win total is 9.5, juiced to the over at minus 135. And with that in mind, if you're going to want that win total over, you're going to have to stockpile those wins early in the season. The good news is 8 of their first 11 games are against teams that missed the playoffs last year. But we've also seen under Mike McDaniel as their head coach that the Dolphins have struggled the back half of their schedule. They're 4-10 in December or later, including a pair of playoff losses to Kansas City and Buffalo. If they want to change the narrative, they have to beat good teams. And that goes back to a lot of our conversation that we've had about Miami last year and the way that things ultimately fell apart for them. Another team that has the hype train, and they did, quite frankly, going into last year too, and lived up to it, if not exceeding some of the expectations. The Detroit Lions, they're coming off their first division title since 1993. They should have beat, as much as I'm happy that it didn't happen, they should have beat the 49ers in the NFC Championship. They're up 17 at halftime and can't hold on. They are rolling this offseason, reshaped their defense. They got their key pieces on offense re-signed. Should we be buying the hype that the Detroit Lions can not only get to another NFC title, but maybe win it this year?
I think they're good, and I think they're going to be improved. I think the first game of the year is going to be fascinating. I mean, the Rams coming, they open up with the Rams on Sunday night. Matthew Stafford back again, and we get a repeat playoff game. Yeah. We'll know the Rams will be really ready to play. But other than that, before they hit the bye, they got Tampa, Arizona, and Seattle. They can get 3 wins there. They could get 4 wins. Then they go to Dallas, Minnesota. I like the team. I think they've improved the areas that they needed to improve. Offensively, they helped. They lost an offensive lineman. They were able to sign Kevin Zeitler back. But for me, the key has been their secondary, and they've improved in that area. And I think that's really going to make a huge difference for them.
The favorite in the wins in first 5 games is 3 as well, plus 175, 2 plus 250, 4 plus 300. I think they could get 3 wins out of that first 5. I guess the one at Dallas is kind of a big question mark, since that's coming out of the bye, though. They should feel good about themselves there. But this is a 12-win team last year, tied for the second best record in the NFL. With the hype comes standalone games as well. If you look at their schedule big picture, with their win total sitting at 10.5, 5 primetime games in 2024, including their annual Thanksgiving Day game against the Bears. But they lived up to it in primetime last year, 5-1 in primetime games last season, including the playoffs. Let's keep it in that division, in that realm, the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, prior to the Packers divisional round, lost to San Francisco last year, had a run of 21 touchdowns and just 1 interception. They won 7 and 9 games in that time to finish 9 and 8 on the year, secured a playoff win in Dallas in the wild card round. Love's already put himself in the conversation for a trendy MVP pick, and he'll certainly have the opportunity to do so head to head with some other really good quarterbacks of note. Are you believing the hype in Green Bay?
I am, because I think Hafley will make a difference defensively for him. I think he's going to help their defense improve. But that was the issue last year. And at the second half, look, at the beginning of the year, when you watch Green Bay, they were doing everything in their power to make sure that Love didn't beat them, right? They had no faith really in Love as a quarterback, but eventually he won them over. And I think the addition of Josh Jacobs, who can do a lot of things that Aaron Jones did, but he's a more power back if he's in shape. But the key to this team has got to be they have to improve their run defense. They've got to get better, and they've got to create turnovers. They should be able to pressure the passer at a higher rate. Last year, they were 31st in interceptions. They were 23rd in turnovers defensively. They couldn't stop the run. They're 28th in yards allowed on the ground, 23rd in yards per attempt, which is significant considering that 26th in the league in people trying to run the ball on them. I mean, people were running the ball on them because they knew they could. If they don't stop that, it's going to be a problem. And I think that ultimately is got to be something that they fix. Look, they lose on the road to the Giants, a horrible loss. They come back and lose to Tampa at home, another bad loss. And then they reel off 3 wins, Carolina, Minnesota, and Chicago, and they get in, and then they destroy Dallas. I think the momentum's with them.
A really potentially challenging stretch of the schedule coming out of the bye. They're at the Bears, who, if they end up being the team that people expect them to be, would be a challenge. But then you've got the 49ers, the Miami Dolphins, and the Lions, all back to back to back. Teams who combined to go 35-11 last season. Win total for the Packers sitting 10.5. You are getting plus money, though, on the over if you think they can exceed expectations, if you're believing the hype. Last one here real quickly. Jim Harbaugh has exceeded expectations every stop that he has been at, turning around programs quickly. Are you believing the hype in LA?
Yeah, I am. I think, look, I believe this. One of the reasons I think the Raiders are going under is because I'm not sure about Pierce as a coach and Gardner Minshew. Then on this game, I'm because it's quarterback and head coach for me. Mm-hmm. I like Justin Herbert. I love Jim Harbaugh. Quarterback and coach, he's always improved the team, and I think he'll improve this team.
They struggled in the division last year, got swept by the Broncos, swept by the Chiefs, won one of those games against the Raiders. The other is the one that cost their head coach his job. Win total sitting 8.5 for the Chargers. Juice to the over, -155. People are believing in what Jim Harbaugh can do from a culture standpoint and getting the most out of his players. We're going to hit the break.
NFL fans, turn your football knowledge into big cash prizes with Circa's Pro Football Contest featuring $16 million in guaranteed payouts. Winner's Circle Proxy gets you in the game with just one trip to Vegas. Our proxy service helped our clients win more than $7 million last year. Go to winnerscircleproxy.com to get in the game. Go to winnerscircleproxy.com. Tell them your friends at VSiN sent you. Winners Circle Proxy.